King just scoring the touchdown, coming off the bench for him, and back to the air goes Rodgers. Caught! Ra-Ra Thomas! Goodbye!
Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
The under center, big play here. Turns and hands it to Blake Corum, running right, hesitates, makes a man miss, and he's going to walk into the end zone, John! What a hesitation move, untouched.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Maccabee cuts a jagged path across midfield. Nobody in front. Can they track him down? Devin Maccabee still going. Takes it inside the 5. Justin Wally brought him down. A 67-yard gain.
Sikkim 365 Radio is also brought to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans since 1952.
Play action into the end zone. Caught. Touchdown worthy. Now that's a worthy play.
Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube. Brought to you by TFNB, your bank for life.
Charbonnet. Still going. He is a bowling ball.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
And good afternoon on this somewhat dreary Friday. Pretty cold as the cold weather has come back into Texas. Wherever you are, of course, we're coast to coast with 365 Sports, and a lot going on, a lot to get to. Baylor president and also a part of the NCAA Transformational Committee, Dr. Linda Livingstone, will join us here at most any time, and we'll get into with her about the new president, or the NCAA president. And Charlie Baker, and when did his name come on the radar, plus many news. In fact, some stories that have come out today. We will also hear from Phil Bennett, who appears to be about to retire after interim coach tomorrow night for North Texas. Grayson Grundhafer, Baylor men's basketball assistant Jaron Nunez, top 5, and so much more to get to in the chat room and also the text line. In the studio today, Xander and Mark are in the studio watching what we do. Happy birthday to one of our great viewers, Stephen Vaughn, today. That's his birthday today. And here we go. UTSA leads Troy 9-0 second quarter. UAB beat Miami 24-20. Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak, and I'm David Smoak. Garrett Ross, Jacob Wilson, and Jack McKenzie behind the scenes as what they do so brilliantly. We will hear from Dr. Livingstone. We will talk about a couple of stories after the segment with her, and in fact, bring it up with her, including yet another story about Texas and Oklahoma and the possibility of leaving a little bit early, and a waiver that athletes will have in football, a part of not losing games or red shirts. We'll get to that, but we're now joined by Baylor President Dr. Linda Livingstone right here on 365 Sports. Dr. Livingstone, Linda, thank you for your time. When did you first hear the name Charlie Baker, and what did you know of him at that time?
Well, good to be with you today, David. Always happy to join you and talk about all that's going on in the sports world. So, Governor Baker's name came up really as we began to look at potential candidates in the early fall, I would say. He was nominated by someone, and the search firm Turnkey ZRG reached out. And so I did not know anything about him at that point in time. Certainly had never met him, but certainly have gotten to know him since then, and just am really excited about the opportunity of him leading the NCAA.
with the committee deciding to go outside of academia for the first, I don't know if it's the first time ever, but the first time in a long time, was it because the challenges presented need someone now who has been in the political arena, given that, there's legislation needed on several large issues to kind of make everything on the level playing field again?
Well, we did a lot of data gathering from both within and outside the NCAA with a diverse constituency groups as we built the job description and thought about what the next leader of the NCAA needed in terms of their background and experience. And it became clear, and we didn't have necessarily a view that it couldn't be someone within higher education or athletics, but there was a lot of openness across the constituencies to thinking differently and recognizing that it might take someone outside. It didn't mean someone inside couldn't have that diversity of experiences, because you wanted somebody that appreciated and understood college athletics, that valued higher education, that could help us work on a legislative strategy to help address some of these problems, that could help us think about how we maybe get more value out of more value out of the enterprise of the NCAA, and frankly, have the ability to take on and solve really complex, kind of vexing problems. And so, it's a pretty diverse set of skills we're looking for, but it meant we needed to look more broadly than maybe we had traditionally. And that was why someone like a Charlie Baker rose to the top.
What was Charlie Baker's kind of knowledge of the position, of the situation, of what that job might entail, of the description you just outlined? Like, what was his sort of IQ when it comes to the NCAA and that role walking into this situation?
Well, I thought he was very knowledgeable. He clearly had done his research and prepared and thought a lot about kind of what the issues are and the things that the NCAA faces. But I will also say, he's very humble about knowing what he knows and what he doesn't know. He asks lots of good questions. He's very thoughtful, and he knows he has a lot to learn. Honestly, anybody going to that job would have a lot to learn, even if they were a university president or even if they had come out of college athletics, because it's just a complex job, and there's a lot of issues that the NCAA deals with that probably a lot of people don't know and aren't that close to it. So I think he's going to approach it very thoughtfully. He understands the urgency of some of the issues, but he also knows that he does have a lot to learn, and he's going to be there to listen and learn and really work collaboratively across a diverse constituency base to help move the institution forward.
As you know, with the transfer portal, NIL, realignment, TV deals, and so much more, so much is on the table, so many moving parts. You're part of that transformational committee. Is there anything near or around the corner that might put more structure into all of that?
Well, the Transformation Committee continues its work and will be really wrapping up its work here at the end of the year and moving some issues forward for the Division I board to be considering and thinking about. And then there's going to be ongoing work that has to happen in a number of these areas. I think the way we need to think about this is there's a level of transformation change that's going to happen because of the Transformation Committee. And certainly some has already happened in the areas that you mentioned. There's clearly more that needs to be done. But the transformation process will not end with the work of the Transformation Committee. There's going to continue to need to be ongoing transformation of the NCAA on many different levels. And the ones you mentioned are important. I think one of the challenges in those spaces are some of the things that I think we all feel like need attention as it relates to the transfer portal NIL will be very challenging without some federal legislation that focuses on preemption of state laws and some other things because there are over 30 state laws, all very different about NIL. Some of the things you'd want to regulate at the NCAA level are actually possible according to some state laws, and other state laws are actually prevented from being able to do this. So without some kind of a national framework on NIL, it becomes very challenging to have a consistent model that treats all student athletes fairly and gives them appropriate opportunities for NIL without there being abuses as it relates to incentives to attend a particular school and so on, as we know there's a lot of concern about right now.
One of the other skills that Charlie Baker appears to have through his political career is he is a Republican governor in a very Democratic state historically in Massachusetts, and has navigated that fairly well in a time that it's not easy to do that in America. I am sure that it is similar to navigating these controversial issues when you come to universities of different sizes and needs and overall goals. Is that one of the qualities you and the committee liked about him, that he can sift through some of that can get a little bit snippy?
Well, absolutely. It's clear anybody who's a Republican governor in a Democratic state and has won re-election there and has the highest approval ratings of any governor in the state, according to Morning Consult, who is an independent, agency that kind of looks at those things, has the ability to take issues that can be very controversial, have people with very different views on what should be done, and bring them together to find solutions and to solve problems. So it was a really important part of what we look for. We know we certainly have some legislative issues that we're going to need to work across the aisle on, but even beyond that, within the NCAA, there's such diversity of membership and types of schools and the needs of those schools, certainly across the divisions 1, 2, and 3, but even within Division 1, for instance, there's a lot of diversity of schools. So having someone that has a track record of success at working with divergent perspectives and bringing people together to solve problems was really important to us.
Dr. Livingstone, we saw the news today that athletes or football players will not be charged with, eligibility as far as playing in their bowl games. It won't count towards their 4 games they can play in, and then the red shirt applies. Can you take us into that discussion and that decision?
Well, that decision was not made at the level at which I work within the NCAA, so that we have a committee structure that allows some of those decisions to be made within committees that focus particularly on the specific sports. And then there's a management council that oversees some of that, make sure that there's not any kind of systemic implications that would be problematic. So, I think, and I don't know, I was not involved in the conversation, but I think especially as you see students going into the portal late in the season now, and students choosing to step out of bowl games because they want to go to the pros. I don't know for sure, but I suspect there was a bit of a practical aspect of this too, to help ensure the team had the right numbers of players and in the right position to actually be able to field competitive teams in the bowl games. But I would have to defer to someone else that was more involved in that decision to speak to the specifics of it.
Yeah, you could actually have a quarterback who's going to the NFL opt out early. Somebody else transfers. Somebody else is injured, and you don't have a quarterback. Or you might have maybe a walk-on or two, and so that maybe will allow that to be a little bit less, of a bad situation. Brett Yormark, he came in. He had a lot of vision. You were there the day you introduced him back in July at Big 12 Media Days in Arlington. Can you already see the difference, the brand of the Big 12 changing in just a short amount of time?
Oh, for sure. We're so excited about Commissioner Yormark and the energy and kind of forward-thinking approach he's taking to the conference. And I think you've seen that already just with the way the football championship game was framed differently. Obviously, the hard work he's done on the media agreement for the future, this business advisory group that he's put together, and then some of his new hires, that kind of a new day in the conference, and that we're going to really be aggressive and thinking differently about how we do the work we do, how we promote the activities that we have, how we create energy and excitement around Big 12 sports. And he's been great to work with. I'm on the executive committee of the Big 12, and so we meet with him regularly as he keeps us updated, and just can't say enough about his leadership. And he's only been on board about 4 months, and he's already made significant changes and really set us up well for the future. So we're excited about what he's doing and what that says for the Big 12 as we bring in new schools next year.
Is part of that vibe of what's maybe going on with Texas and Oklahoma might be able to leave a year early and everybody can get to the conference shape and structure that's going to be in the future sooner because things are moving so well right now within the conference?
Well, I think we want to do what's in the best interest of the Big 12. And, we will work closely with the new schools, bringing them in to make sure that transition happens in a really healthy and effective way. And we will work closely with OU and Texas to help that transition happen in a good way, regardless of whether it's in a year or in 2 years. And we want it to be positive for everybody, and everybody's working to that end.
Can you see, and I asked Mac Rhodes this too, Dr. Livingstone, earlier this week, but if in fact Texas and OU leave a year earlier than planned, is there any scenario, unless it does scratch any itch the Big 12 has or its members, that they can just walk away without having to pay a nice penalty or whatever that specific fee would be?
Well, I think it's important to the conference and to the schools in the conference that that transition does not harm the schools in the conference from a financial perspective or from the perspective of kind of the competitiveness and everything on the field. And so, again, we're committed to that. We're committed to working with OU and Texas to get to a good resolution on that. And everybody's involved in those conversations in healthy and positive ways. And so I feel like we'll get to a good place on that transition regardless of when it happens.
Do you think there's a really good chance that they may be gone after 2023 and everybody can move on?
I'm not going to predict that at this point in time. I wish I had more insight to exactly when that was going to happen, but I certainly know that that's part of the conversation. We'll see whether that happens or not.
When I sat down and interviewed you in June of 2017 at Pat Neff Hall, it was a very difficult time for Baylor University. You now were a part of helping find the new NCAA president. You're a part of the Transformational Committee, the Board of Governors, and the Big 12, and much more. Did you ever in your wildest dreams feel like you would make that kind of move and be a part of those things that quickly?
Well, I certainly wouldn't have when we were sitting there in 2017. We had a lot of things we were working on internally at the university and lots of things we needed to focus on. But I will just say, I think it's a testament to Baylor and our mission. It's a testament to the Baylor family, our faculty, staff, students, and certainly all of our alumni and friends out there that have rallied around Baylor, that have bought into our vision of Illuminate and really being a preeminent Christian research university with nationally competitive athletic programs. And we've gotten the support we needed from the board, from within the institution, and from a fundraising and other perspectives. The Baylor families come around us. Of course, we've got amazing leadership of Mac Rhodes, and then obviously the rest of my leadership team that has really put the university in that window of time in a really good position. And I think because of that, we have opportunities now on a national stage to have impact and influence. And to do it in that window of time, given where we started in 2017, I think is really wonderful. But again, I can't say enough about just everybody that kind of rode in the same direction to get us to this point. And we have so many more opportunities ahead if we keep working together on these things. So I look forward to the things we're going to be able to do together, both on the campus and off the campus, as we look forward.
Thank you for your time today, and enjoy your weekend. We appreciate you.
Hey, thanks so much. Really appreciate the time, and always happy to talk.
Yes, ma'am. That's Dr. Linda Livingstone, president at Baylor. She's the chair of the Transformational Committee. She was very much a part of Charlie Baker and that search to become the new president, the NCAA. If you haven't read the story by Pat Forty, SI.com, about how he doesn't have much really to do to get better at that position because of the bar being set so low under Mark Emmert with the NCAA. And, of course, part of the Board of Governors. We've seen what's happened. She was a part of that with Brett Yormark coming in. For someone who walked in the door with a lot of fires in different places, she has, blossomed in this position. Not all of her decisions on campus are decisions that everybody likes, but she has taken Baylor into a different level and where they are, and also nationally as far as the view of Baylor University?
Well, there's a reason they've asked her to be the head of that committee, and it's because of how good of a job she's done, and really not that long. I mean, 2017 was only 5 years ago. I mean, that's not that long, and coming into what she stepped into, she has really navigated quite well and been able to work through the noise, which is what Charlie Baker is going to have to do, which is why I think they brought him in, because he, in his political career, has done that as well as anybody can right now, because it's not something that's commonplace in that arena anymore, is being able to work through bipartisan decisions that well, and because he's going to have to deal with it. But, in the stand-up comedy world, you never want to follow somebody who's too good, right? Because they're, oh my gosh, how do I follow that? They're really good. You also don't want to follow somebody that's really bad, because then the audience is mad. But in this scenario, I think that he does not have many steps to climb to get higher on the mountain than Mark Emmert did, because everything that happened under Mark Emmert, like I said yesterday, happened to the NCAA and not because of it.
There are no expectations for this person, for Charlie Baker. There are basically zero expectations for him to do anything worthwhile, fruitful, impactful, because Mark Emmert basically didn't do anything of that nature in his many years at the helm. So you just do a couple of things pretty well, and you'll have already surpassed his tenure in my mind, and I think in most people's minds. Now, there might be some Mark Emmert supporter out there shaking his fist or her fist saying, well, you don't realize what impact he had on this or on that. I'm sure he did some good, fine things along the way, but that's certainly not how it was portrayed or how it came across to people watching college athletics. So good to have some fresh blood. I don't know, on the NCAA side of things, how seriously people are going to take that entity until they start to, change course and really move forward with, some fresh paint and some new ideas. But having people like Linda Livingstone, behind the scenes, I do feel somewhat hesitant to dog on the entity that is the NCAA, knowing that she and many others have been for well over a year now at this point working to, try and correct things and do things better as best they can. So here's this big hire they've been working on. We'll see how it goes. I do think that, as I've seen mentioned elsewhere, and Paul's mentioned, the bipartisan part of his resume certainly had to be, I think, impactful to them in looking at what they thought would be ideal in a candidate, somebody who can go politic and shake hands and sway people. I think is going to be a big part of this job, and talking to politicians who are trying to tell them what they're going to do with NIL and what kind of, rules and whatnot are going to be, and, grease some palms and try to get some opinions flipped on amateur athletics and how this is all going to work. I think that's going to be a big part of it. And, like I said, we'll see what happens. It's a whole new world, a whole new NCAA president now, and a world of college football in particular, where the NCAA, is not viewed as mightily as it once was. So
they were the IRS, weren't they?
Either he's going to be the guy that keeps them or restores that sort of power that you kind of had behind that name at one point in time, or they're going to super fall to the wayside, and you wonder, what the future actually is for that body.
Yeah, you got to be able to, if you're Charlie Baker, and at least in Massachusetts, he's done this where he can, for the most part, sift through the noise, because all these things, politics, the NCAA, there's a lot of noise, which when I say noise, it's just noise. It's all it is. It's people shouting things that ultimately don't matter, because if they're loud enough, maybe you'll go away and not make them change what you want to change. And the NCAA is at a point right now where they can do nothing but change. They have to, or they're dead.
It may be too late.
So
yeah.
You have to be able to, there's still going to be people out there with noise, because they don't think that it should have changed. They don't think it should be a different way. So you have to be able to sift through that. And good luck on him doing that. But that's one of the biggest parts of his job.
Well, let's be clear, too, on the noise about the NCAA and what they are or not going to be able to do. Like, they're, in charge of the basketball tournament. But the big talk is when it comes to high-level football. This isn't like volleyball's threatening to break off and have their own entity. This is football, what people are worried about, and men's basketball. And I guess to a lesser extent, women's basketball, although, again, they're in control of the tournament, right? So they have that sway there. But I think this is really people looking at football and what's going on right now and all of the unregulated, stuff going on, and the lack of sway that the NCAA has in any of those matters or ability to do anything in any of those matters, which is why there's this government aspect involved. I think, and this hire subsequently being made, I think that's the part where the focus really is. Like they can exist. They can still tell tennis, what they're going to do and soccer and whatever, and do that for years and years to come. But when it comes to high-level D1 football and the SEC and the Big Ten and, what everybody else is going to look like, Big 12, ACC, so on. I mean, I think that's where the focus, especially with the NCAA, lies right now and their relevance or lack thereof.
All right, we have to get to a lot more, and we will, because there's another story yesterday. Oh, what was it? Dennis Dodd, we had him on CBS Sports about Texas, Oklahoma, the possibility that they could be leaving early. We've had others on about that as well. Early would be before the end of the 24-25 school year, and there is a lot of smoke that it could come as early as another year, and then they're done. Stuart Mandel, Max Olson, Andy Staples, we've had all of them on the show, especially Max yesterday. A new story, or at least an updated story. We're going to get into that. We're going to get into the waiver for players who otherwise would be redshirting, about the possibility they can play in bowl games to help prop up part of the roster that's been battling the attrition. We will also get into some other college football notes. Players leaving for the NFL, maybe somebody transferring, coaching searches, coaching carousel. Before we take this first break, we'll have Grayson at 3:45 on Baylor, right around the corner from National Signing Day. Carthage in the Texas High School Football State Championship playoffs, 4A Division II earlier today, smoked Wimberley 42-0. They have won 9 state championships in 16 years in a state where that's hard to do. All of them under head coach Scott Surratt, is a great friend of the show. Congratulations to them. Bernie and China Spring just kicked off in the 4A Division I. Bernie has just scored to lead 7-0 midway through the first quarter.
I got to see one of the early runs. They beat Mejia on the way to one of them. And I remember getting in the car, and Tyler Holcomb, who's now at Waco High, was with me. And I turned and I said, I feel like we didn't even need to be here. Like, that's how good Carthage was then. Like, we were kind of just, I felt like a news reporter witnessing a train collision where I'm just saying all the bad stuff that happened to Mejia that night. And that was a good Mejia team, but that was a great Carthage team, and nothing has changed in all that time.
No, they've won 9 of 16.
It's a powerhouse. Scott Surratt's a really good coach. I know his son's there now and is the quarterback, and he's done graduate for 3 more years. So, I mean, maybe he has 12 state titles by the time he decides what to do in the next wave of life. If he ever leaves Carthage, I mean, maybe he just sticks around there and wins 20 state titles. I was actually more curious about this than the results so far at state title games. Do y'all think not having it on free cable TV is affecting the coverage? Because I don't see it trending, at least on my end. I don't see it being talked about outside of the reporters that are there in attendance. But it doesn't, and even I look at some of their tweets and it's 15 retweets, half of them are from Dave Campbell's staff, and it's 25 likes. And I don't know. I was just wondering, because normally I would have watched 90% of the state title games. I've watched none of it, basically. Well, yeah, and I get I get where they're going to make money off of it, so they do this whole sub thing. But literally, am I signing up for Bally's for 4 days?
No.
And then that's the thing. That's
it's not like a Netflix series.
Yeah, exactly. You suck me in with this new series starring so-and-so, and then you show me this and this, and that's why I'm going to stay. But with this, I know there's 4 days of games, and then there's nothing after that pulled me in for high school football. So maybe it's just a quick grab this week, and they make some money to be able to host these things, and I understand that. But maybe it's just my Twitter feed, the way that it's set up, but I don't feel like there's a great buzz for the state title games outside of what's happening there.
Hashtag TXHSFB is where you know that, and then also HSFB playoffs as well. But you're right. I'm following a lot of different people, vice versa, making comments myself because of the where I cut my teeth, basically, in the business was covering high school football. But, Craig, you might be right. Right now, again, the 4A Division I game going on tonight. There will be 40 or so thousand, maybe more, at AT&T Stadium in the 5A Division II game between South Oak Cliff out of Dallas and Port Neches Grove.
I'm sure that with bigger schools that will ramp up a bit. But, for example, I just went to that all too familiar hashtag. The first, I'm going to wager 15 tweets are all media accounts. That's what I'm saying. It's it just doesn't feel like it's the media's covering it. I'm seeing it because of the media, but I can't watch it. I don't have Bally Sports Plus, and I'm not going to sign up for Bally Sports Plus. unless I get some itch tonight because all the 4, 5, 6A's are going to be playing and I just have to watch that. But man, it sure was nice when it was just on Fox Sports Southwest and everybody could watch, and it felt like there was an actual buzz because everybody could watch.
Yeah.
But now it's just like,
well,
I don't know. There's something missing.
Well, I'm confused on the app part because you know me. It takes me a while. I'm watching it at home the whole time.
You have it through your cable subscription.
Okay, isn't that where we would normally watch it?
Yeah, but some people now, because Bally Sports doesn't have agreements with everybody.
Oh,
right?
okay.
So,
like the Longhorn Network back in the day. Okay.
The Fox Sports channels, those had a lot of carriage agreements, but Bally's is still in the early parts of their doing this in the RSA, the regional sport RSNs. But yeah, so if they've got an app that costs $26 a month. Okay. Right, or something like that. It's not a cheap one either.
All right. You can also go to uiltexas.org if you want to. You can track the game play-by-play, not live on video, but they have the play-by-play going. Bernie leading again over China Spring, the defending 4A Division II champion, 7-0. Texas, Oklahoma, and when they leave, waivers for college football players that include now the opportunity to play in bowl games, coaching searches, transfer portal, who's doing this and that. And that's next on 365 Sports. Ideal MRI in the Central Texas marketplace just off of I-35. Dr. Rob Maxey and his staff, they started this business because the MRI, an average MRI, is $1,100, and it might have gone up since that time. So I remember it's been 4 or 5 years ago. I needed to get an MRI, and it was $1,600. I didn't pay that, but that's what it was going to be. I had been talking about Ideal MRI. I have been now for about, 8 to 9 years. Knew Dr. Rob Maxey, contacted them. Same MRI. Asked, I want to get, that's where I want to go. $497. And that's not just some buy one, get one free deal. It's every time. $497 every time and maybe less. They'll help you with your insurance policy and maybe get even more of a deduction. Great staff, an MRI machine that's as good as you can find anywhere. I've been in it 3 different times. Every time by the end of that day, I've had a call from a doctor and or a specialist that the images are in a portal. They send it to your doctor. They can download it. They can find it. You can find it. And they explain what they find as well. IdealMRI.com in the Central Texas marketplace, and $497 or less every time at IdealMRI.com.
In our logo and advertising, we say we are people that you can count on. What does that mean? It starts with providing a quality vehicle and quality service at a fair price. But it also means we do what we say we will do, and we treat people fairly with respect. It starts by hiring great people, good local folks who work hard with a caring attitude. Our employees are the real reason we are people that you can count on. Put us to the test and see for yourself that at Richard Carr Motors, we are people you can count on.
Texas Farm Bureau Insurance has protected fellow Texans with auto, home, health, and life insurance since 1952. With more than 260,000 square miles of land and 27 million people, that's a lot to cover. Whether you're wrangling cattle or wrangling kids, we're proud to protect Texans in all Texan ways of life.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injuries, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs, and veggie burgers too. Nachos and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Quick update, UTSA 12-7 lead over Troy with 34 seconds to go in the first half. Frank Harris got knocked out in that game for a little bit, but I believe I just saw him back on the field. So that game, I knew that would be competitive. Troy's really good. And so, of course, is Jeff Traylor and UTSA.
By the way, we have our picks in the next hour.
Yeah, about 4:05.
This game is one of them. I will say before we get to it, because in case it turns the way that we picked it, I don't want people to think that we just did that in the middle. We all three picked UTSA this morning.
We did.
So
Harris was just picked, by the way, and Troy is deep in their territory. So Texas, Oklahoma, SEC bound in 2024 as tone shifts in the Big 12. What we're hearing. We heard this, and we heard this before. Now, I think that everyone always thought after they decided to leave, it might even happen after 2021. Here we are, the end of 2022. Then all of a sudden, no, we're going to stay. It appears as if there's going to be, it kind of just gets this feeling, don't you? One more year, 2023, they leave, people write checks, Big 12's taken care of TV-wise, so is Fox, however they do it with ESPN, and everybody gets to move on.
Well, the new TV deal is there, so you know what it's going to be without them. I think that was one of the reasons you maybe tell Texas and OU, no, you're going to be in until 2025 because they didn't know what their TV deal was going to be, so they wanted to squeeze every last drop out of that they could. But now that they know what that's going to be, now that, everybody knows what their TV rights are going to be and everything's set for a good little while now that, the SEC has been set with ESPN for a little bit now. So all that's there. Scheduling is really hard. I'm sure when they got into the meat of trying to do 2 years of a 14-team conference schedule to only turn around and have to change your scheduling model again, they were like, can we just do this once and then not have to worry about it? Plus, if you delay the scheduling announcement until you've made this clear to people that it's only going to be 1 year. If you're UCF and you have to go to Oklahoma in year one and you think, oh, cool, Oklahoma's coming here next year, then you don't get to, be disappointed about that. I think all this is kind of falling into place now where, again, if you can take care of Fox, who's not going to have the Texas OU game this year or that year, then I think you'll be all right.
I need to correct myself. Brett McMurphy from Action Network HQ is the one who we had on earlier this week about this story, and so I want to make sure we credit him. He's been great with us as well.
Yeah, he was the one that kick-started that ball rolling, and then now there's some follow-up to it from The Athletic. But, yeah, McMurphy does deserve some credit there, and, I mean, I'm not surprised. I feel like, you know, even seeing them in the conference this past year, and then even the fact that they'll be in there next year, assuredly, is a surprise. I recall vividly a number of accounts stating that, you know, well, enjoy it while it lasts because they're out of here after this year, and that was like 2 years ago. So, you know, or like shortly after their announcement 2 summers ago. And throughout that following football season of like, this is the last time. And then, you know, this past year, this really is the last time now. And here we are, and we're getting another year. When everything kind of settled down and Texas and OU sort of went to their corners and the Big 12 went to their corner and they started to get into discussions and the Big 12 went out and hired Brett Yormark and all of that. I mean, the dude's a businessman. He put it out there multiple times of like, we're willing to listen. We'll listen to anything. We'll listen to anything about expansion. We'll listen to anything about promotions. We'll listen to anything about Texas and OU. We just got to talk about it. UTSA with a pick in the end zone to fend off a Troy score right before the halftime, by the way. But you know, ultimately, I felt like he kept reiterating that. And, you know, I didn't think that Texas and Oklahoma were going to just sit back and not act on that, because I think that their desire to get to the SEC and go ahead and get this new era started, in my mind, trumped any dollar figure. Now, I know the monetary aspect of this is going to cause some pause, and if it didn't, then otherwise they would have already made the move and made it official. But I think now that you've got somebody who's willing to talk with you, you kind of both know the deal. You're both ready for this thing to end by now. You don't want to do this another 2 years. You don't want to have a crowded conference and, you know, a weird transition either way you're looking. So this just makes all the sense in the world. It does. And everybody is, you know, content with where they're going to be and what that's going to look like. And so, you know, here we are. And I think it just makes sense for all parties. And it always has made sense for there not to be this full-on contractual obligation all the way until 2025. It just felt like that's just too far out for this to make sense.
I also think it's good because the Big Ten will be at what they're going to be in 2024, the first year of the 12-team playoff. And it should, the Big 12 can be as well, because then that doesn't give you this 1 year outlier of
and the SEC.
Everybody is where they're going to be. So you don't have this weird 1 year outlier of all these people that are not going to be where they are. And then the next year, you know, the vision of that could change as far as, well, last year that was this, and this year it's this. So you kind of can get an idea of what you need to really accomplish to be one of those 12 teams.
Go ahead.
Also, if you're, you know, like I know today Texas, or last night, got the huge linebacker commit from Anthony Hill, the big 5-star, and they're recruiting really well. I will say, though, like, and this isn't directed at Sark or anybody in particular, it's hard to judge how good of a guy is as a recruiter compared to pre-NIL days, right? You can talk about how they went and swooped in the living room and had the big conversation, but like when you're talking about the money that's being exchanged sometimes, like that does aid in recruiting a bit.
Well, it does for certain, but
for
one
certain
thing,
guys, for the top
Texas
guys,
has.
Oh, I'm not talking about them in particular. I'm just saying in general.
Texas, and I mean, this is what they do. The problem is they haven't been able to always be very good about being, once they're on campus, make them better than they were when they arrived. Some guys are, but yeah, no, they're having a great run at the expense of A&M falling apart, right? Because of what they went through and what seems to be a dumpster fire in many ways.
Yeah, but
they're a success.
Yeah, I'm not speaking about them specifically because they've always finished with basically top 5 classes. But I'm just saying, when you see like Miami, like, man, coach knows how to recruit, or it's like, yeah, to an extent, but also knows how to throw out like the money from John Ruiz too. Like, I mean, like, where does that? Where's the line there? I don't know. It's kind of blurry compared to when you knew guys who could just recruit. But then again, the money aspect's always been there in some form or fashion. So maybe it's just all the same, and I'm making too much out of that. But I think if you're Texas and you're recruiting guys like Anthony Hill, you want him playing a majority of his career in the Big 12? Arch Manning, do you want him playing a majority of his career in the Big 12, or do you want to get him to the SEC as fast as possible?
That's how you got him maybe on campus.
Yeah, I think that's part of your recruiting pitch is you're going to play in the SEC. And so, yeah, the faster you can get there, the more you're going to benefit from that. So, yeah, all the way around, it makes sense. And with the expanded playoff, I don't think there's as much of a hindrance to the Big 12 to have pause, because there's a clear, direct path for their teams that are remaining to still have their opportunity. Whereas if we are still in the 14 playoff for the next 10 years, I don't know that you're as quick to say, okay, Texas and Oklahoma, you go ahead and go over there, where they might take up another spot, but for another conference. So there's a lot of factors for why this makes sense.
In this story today, multiple sources indicating that both sides are eager to move on from each other. That's something Brett McMurphy reported. The Big 12's new members arrive next season on, June 1st or July 1st. Created an awkward 2-year period. Paul, you brought that up, scheduling, etc. The league recently gained clarity on its own future post-Oklahoma, Texas. We brought that up. But remaining teams, the 8 remaining plus the 4 incoming teams, they're not going to let Texas and Oklahoma just walk out the door with some sort of a discount deal because it didn't get sold during Christmas holidays at the mall. So if the 23-24, 24-25 check, is any kind of a dip, ESPN, someone's going to have to make up for that. You might give in a little bit, but as Mack Rhoades said in the quote from Tuesday, we're not going to lose a penny. So that, if you say that, you better back it. And so that'll be interesting to see. Grayson Grundhafer's coming up next. We got to get to him.
That's why we also have the delay in this Big 12 schedule.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's why this thing has just been kicked down the road multiple times. And, Mack Rhoades has been on Baylor AD multiple times talking about, it should be out by then. And it's not his fault, but just kind of it keeps moving. The target for this conference release, and I know everybody is itching to see what this is going to look like. Like, who is UCF playing in year one, and who is BYU drawing, and who do Texas and Oklahoma play on their potential way out, which now looks like it's definitely going to be their way out. So how do you figure that out? Like, who do you want Texas and OU playing in their last go-round while you still have control of who they're going to play? So that's why, and now it looks like, with this move, it makes more sense as to why it's been delayed, and we should get it relatively soon, especially if this goes through.
We'll see what happens this next week with National Signing Day next, Wednesday. Baylor plays Thursday in Fort Worth. What's Grayson hearing? Transfer portal. Who's playing? Who's not? Who's coming in? What high school players? Does anyone need to be wrapped up at least one more time? All of that with Grayson Grundhafer. Then we'll have our college picks on games this weekend. Also today, Jared Nunez men's basketball plays Washington State Sunday, following the women's game against Arizona, 2 top 20 teams. And then a conversation with our great friend Phil Bennett, coaching his last game tomorrow night in Frisco, North Texas, against a red-hot team out of Boise State. Paul's Top 5. This is 365 Sports. The Big Finish sale continues at Allen Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat in Waco, just off of Loop 340 and east of 84. Save big throughout the holiday season on Jeep models. The new 2020 3-row Grand Cherokee Limited. Total value is up to $4,000 plus $500 bonus cash for anyone who is a first responder. And if you are, thank you for what you do. No payments for 90 days. How about that? The combination. Total value is up to $4,000 plus $500 bonus cash to first responders and no payments for 90 days. Jeep SUVs known for their design, their technology, even luxurious of what they bring to the table. Grand Cherokee L brings you extended seating with a 3rd row. Hurry in, find a test drive, get in a car, look at it, have an opportunity, talk to the sales rep about all of these specific options that you have. Allen Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, Ted Teague, the GM, just east of 84 in Waco.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance, and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
Howdy, Chet Garner here, professional guide, searching for bears in the wild. But not just any bears, oh no, a particular kind. With hundreds of thousands roaming freely in the wild, yet still hard to spot unless you know the signs. There they are, Baylor bears. If you're a bear enthusiast or even a bear yourself, join me and let's find some bears in the wild.
Join the expedition at baylor.edu/alumni.
Waco Custom Marketplace is your home for holiday favorites for parties or time with the family, with various specials available while supplies last in store or ordering by phone, including 8 to 10 pound half spiral hams at $4.15 a pound, 12 pound pit hams at $4.35 a pound, 8 to 22 pound bone-in hams for $3.40 a pound, 14 to 16 pound whole raw turkeys at $2.85 a pound, and $4.80 a pound for 9 to 12 pound whole smoked turkeys, 6 to 8 pound mini pit hams for $5.99 a pound. Limit 4 of each item per customer. Call in advance to ensure availability or drop by Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco. Waco Custom Marketplace, your full-service butcher shop for customized orders or cuts of your favorite steaks or beef tenderloin or specially ordered prime rib roast. WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with Grayson Grundhafer of Sikkim365.com. Brought to you by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where customer service is their main focus, and best in metal, steel, and pipe for large or small projects, with 2 locations in Waco and Bryan. Family owned and operated since 1943.
Sikkim365.com, the umbrella of where we are underneath of it, 365 Sports. You talk about this time of the year with who's going to be the defensive coordinator, a bowl game coming up, transfer portal, and then Grayson Grundhafer as well when it comes to recruiting. National Signing Day next week. Grayson, is this Christmas a week early for you?
I would definitely say that, right? I mean, it's been a lot of fun over the past week or so. For this Baylor class, at least, a lot of drama as far as, some decommitments that have happened over the last week, and then the transfer portal really kind of gearing up, and you're starting to see just so many guys enter the portal. You're seeing Baylor be aggressive in the transfer portal after adding Campbell Barrington this week. So, yeah, it's been a lot of fun. It's great to track. Obviously, you'd like to see more good news than bad news. And so far, I think it's been kind of even for Baylor up to this point. So they're going to need to finish through this weekend really strong up until the dead period. And then, of course, signing day on Wednesday. It's going to be really important that this Baylor staff finishes and closes very strong.
Grayson, to this point, Baylor only has like 3 or 4 guys in the portal. And, Kyron Jones obviously went to Virginia Tech, and some other guys waiting for that offer or trying to find out where they're going to go. How much more do you expect it to fill up after the bowl game?
I do think it will fill up a little bit more. I don't think you're going to see a mass exodus. I'm not even sure what the number would be where you would say, wow, that's a mass exodus from the Baylor program. As in, I don't see it being in the 20s like it is at A&M. I think, and Oklahoma State for that matter. But I think for Baylor, they'll probably get around, I would guess, it probably has to be somewhere around the number of like 8 would be kind of what I would anticipate. They just need more room, and based on the numbers in the class and then just kind of what I think they're going to want to do in the transfer portal, I think they're going to kind of want it to be around that number. And I would say that's the other really important thing about it, right, is that, you know, is Baylor losing guys that they don't want to lose, or is Baylor losing guys that they kind of need to leave so they can create more room to add transfers? I think there's a big distinction between those two things. And so I think Baylor's going to be more on the side of, hey, we need more spots so we can go out and add guys. And maybe, you know, for some guys, this just wasn't the right fit for them, couldn't find playing time, or, you know, just need to go find another spot to play more. But for the Baylor side of things, I think they've done a pretty nice job up to this point with retaining guys on their roster who they really need to compete going forward. And I think that's key.
So to be clear, just for clarification's sake, for anybody listening, 8 guys, not counting anybody right now, but 8 guys post-bowl game is what you're eyeing.
I think it'll be something around that, maybe a couple less. I don't think it'll be more than that, but it could be. You kind of never know with how those conversations go. And I know most of the guys had those conversations kind of right after the season. And so I think a lot of people expected that to be the massive, attrition point. But I do think you'll see probably more than what you saw in this round enter the portal. And yeah, I mean, again, I'm kind of ballparking here, but somewhere around, that 6 to 8 number just really wouldn't surprise me.
Grayson, so among the decommitments that they've had here lately, I think we talked about Calvin Clements, who turned around. He's from Lawrence, Kansas. Kansas is on a good roll right now, and so he committed to them. But most recently, you had Corey Huff Jr. just a couple of days ago, not a part of the class any longer. I'm sure there's, something to that and mutual decision and all that. But just with some of these decommitments, what are they telling you outside of Baylor needs some more room in terms of the guys that are no longer part, like a Corey Huff? Are they still in the market for a defensive back of his, caliber? Like, what does that say to you?
Right. So as far as the decommitments go, obviously they didn't want to lose Calvin Clements. They really liked him, young guy, but then they swapped that out by getting Campbell Barrington, who gives them a more established presence, a guy that will help them in the more immediate future. So I see that as kind of, honestly a win for Baylor. Even though I think Calvin's going to be a really good player, I think that Campbell helps them more in the near future, and I think he can still be really, really good, especially since he's already like 22, 23 years old. Like, you don't find many guys like that in the transfer portal. Now, as far as the other two, Torian York, he decommitted earlier in the week, then got the offer from A&M. I know that Oklahoma, Florida, Auburn are all looking at him as well. He was another guy that Baylor didn't want to lose. They wanted him in this class, a local kid, a guy who'd been committed for a long time. And so sadly, he's going to end up elsewhere. But again, that gives you another spot to go out and add a transfer or go out and add another prospect. They put out an offer yesterday to Justin Horn, the linebacker out of John Curtis High School in Louisiana. He's a guy that probably won't sign with Baylor during the early signing period, but if he does wait till February, then Baylor has a chance. But that's still to be determined since Baylor got in so late with him because they had to wait on Torian York. So again, that one is another one where it's kind of like, that's a bummer they lost him. How are we going to use that spot to maybe address the position or maybe use it for another position as well? As far as Corey Huff goes, I think it's pretty obvious Baylor was going to take a transfer at safety. They're probably going to take 2 transfers at cornerback, regardless of what happened with Corey Huff. It was kind of one of those, it didn't matter. They needed older guys. They need guys who can help them next season. But as far as him specifically, yeah, mutual decision there. That's not one that I would consider a loss for Baylor, as in, they didn't necessarily not want that to happen, if that makes sense. There just were some things there that need to be addressed that weren't. And so therefore Baylor and Corey Huff decided to move on. And so that's kind of where things are at there. And like I just said, Baylor is still going to look to address the defensive back position, cornerback, and potentially safety as well in the transfer portal, and maybe in the 2023 class if they find the right prospect.
Grayson, Dave Aranda's name, it doesn't get brought up a lot. I mean, like some head coaches, and he's kind of got his own unique way about doing everything. But I did see your note about him visiting, which is the prized part of this entire class, with all due respect to everybody out and everyone else, in Austin Novosad. How critical, when is that meeting? How critical is that meeting? Is that to seal the deal, or is that to save the deal?
Yeah, that will be tonight, I believe, or at least today at some point. Dave Aranda is going to have an in-home visit with he and his family. They've already had one earlier. And then, of course, Sean Bell was also at his game against Austin Vandegrift in that quarterfinal matchup that, of course, Dripping Springs narrowly lost. And then Vandegrift, of course, is now in the state championship. So they were so close to being there. But this is more just about, Dave Aranda being there and Austin getting to talk to Dave again, his family getting to talk to Dave again, and really just getting to see the head coach again and getting to talk to him again. I don't think this is anything having to do with save the deal or anything like that. I think this is more just to, solidify things on both ends and just make sure that everyone is moving in the same direction, that this is the perfect fit. And ultimately, I think it will be. Austin's been committed for a long time now. And even when Ohio State and Texas A&M and, all these other schools tried to come in and tried to, get him to sway, he never did. And he remained committed to Baylor. And so I think that's going to happen again. I think this is just one of those things where head coaches, they go and visit all the commits pretty much. And so now it's just Austin's turn. It just happens to be right before the weekend. And so I'm expecting it to go really well again. And again, for Baylor to hold on to one of the best commits they have in the class, and a guy who's a true difference maker at the quarterback position, which is something that is really, really hard to find.
Grayson, is there any specific player that we should be watching in the transfer portal right now?
Well, we've talked about a couple, I feel like. Of course, when you look at LSU transfer wide receiver Jack Besh, he's a guy who visited during the week on his official visit. He's a guy who played really well at LSU his freshman year, had a breakout as a freshman, and everyone was anticipating him to have a big season his sophomore year. But he dealt with some injuries in fall camp. They also, of course, had a coaching change with Brian Kelly coming in. And so you put all those variables together along with the talent at LSU, and he kind of just got, lost in the shuffle a little bit. He still played some, still had some good moments, especially late in the season. But it was clear it wasn't going to work out. And then, of course, when Keyshawn Butte decided that he was coming back to LSU for next season, it kind of just made sense for Jack to go ahead and move on to a place that will kind of feature him a little bit more. And he's a guy that's definitely on Baylor's radar. Baylor's looking to upgrade the wide receiver position. I mentioned it, and we've talked about it ad nauseum, but there just wasn't enough competition in that room last year. And so they're going to change that going into the 2023 season. And Besh would give them a really, really reliable wide receiver in the slot and a guy who can make contested catches across the middle of the field. So he would be a great pickup for them. There's a couple other receivers that they're looking at. I think one that, got offered this week and posted his offer was actually a D2 prospect, Isaac Tesla. And this kid is really just kind of jumped on the radar. And it's been really fun to watch him, gather offers and become a guy that was in D2, was offensive MVP in the GMAC and had a great year. And then you look at, he's 6'4", 210. But you never really knew who he was until the offers started coming, and now everyone knows who he is. And so I think he's a guy who likely will visit Baylor in the near future, and a guy who Baylor's definitely looking at as well at the receiver position. And currently I think they're probably going to take two wide receiver prospects if they can find the right two out of the transfer portal this year.
Grayson, thank you very much. Appreciate your time. Enjoy the weekend. Grayson Grundhafer, Sikkim365.com. He also analyzes football, but also the recruiting guy. He and Craig do the Bearcast, his co-host, every Tuesday. That's released, and it's an hour plus of nothing but just Baylor, everything you could imagine. Now, our next guest will be at 4:30, Jared Nunez. When we come back, we make our picks for the college games. We all picked UTSA. They lead at halftime over Troy 12-7. That game we knew would be in progress. We'll give you the other 6 picks and more, including Dave Aranda's first comments since Ron Roberts was fired. in Ronnie Wheat fired a couple of weeks ago and getting ready for their game with Air Force next week in Fort Worth. This is 365 Sports.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. It's the weekend. You probably got some Christmas parties to go to, and you probably want to bring some libations to those Christmas parties. Well, Riverbend Liquor and Wine is the best place to go. And look, if you're getting a gift for someone who is, say, a craft beer enthusiast, no better place for the widest variety of craft beers in Waco. Absolutely. Go to Riverbend Liquor and Wine. You get them even a kind of a grab bag of different craft beers. Great selection of locally sourced bourbon. So anything from Texas, if it's from Texas, like Devil's River or Garrison Brothers, Balcones, if it's from Texas, they've got it at Riverbend Liquor and Wine, and they've got all the varieties in the family of that brand as well. Speedy drive-through window. Excellent customer service, absolutely everything you want. And hey, you're at a party and nobody wants to make a beer run? Well, guess what? You can just look them up on DoorDash and have it delivered right to where you are. They have all that available. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street behind the bank. Check out their Instagram account.
TFNB Your Bank for Life is the official local bank of Baylor Athletics. Find out why more Central Texas are making TFNB their bank for life. Sign up for our Edge checking and savings accounts to earn interest or cash back. With 5 convenient locations and an award-winning mobile app, banking has never been easier. TFNB, your bank for life. Member FDIC.
Did you know Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco is open to the public? Next time you're in town for a Baylor athletic event or you're in town for tourism, take advantage of their day passes for $10 a piece or the weekend for $30. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers 40 group exercise classes, including indoor cycling and yoga, boot camp, and bar. New free weights, weight machines, TRX rowing machines, stationary bikes, new treadmills, new elliptical machines, and a spacious weight room floor. Personal training with Christy London, Randall Corley, and Alec Botch, where you will be encouraged to grow. Sauna, whirlpool, tanning bed, kids club, 16 tennis courts and 8 pickleball courts, and youth and adult tennis and pickleball lessons available. Waco's premier experience where you can help your mind, body, and soul. Visit wacotennis.com or visit them next to Hawaiian Falls on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why we take the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott in Conroe at 936-756-7717. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
You know what would make this moment better? Pizza. Dough made from scratch and an Italian family sauce recipe pizza. 3 fresh signature cheeses making a melty blanket of perfection pizza. Like loads of premium toppings like crispy Old World pepperoni, savory Italian sausage, and fresh sliced veggies pizza. That's Marco's Pizza. Visit marcos.com and make any moment better. And with 4 locations in Waco, Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, locally owned pizza place that's out of this world. Everything from the dough, the sauce, the sausage topping is made fresh in-house. Not to mention the amazing pizza pillows, the chicken wings are to die for. Try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries or tots, plus great specials on food and drink every single day. Shorty's is also the perfect spot to watch the game with your friends. Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby. Tell them Paul sent you by.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Williams has time against the four-man rush, backpedaling, scanning, now running out of time, circling back, joystick on the move again. Are you kidding me? Caleb Williams dancing, cutting, mesmerizing run by the quarterback, finally dragged down at the 20. It's a highlight reel tonight.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
So there's a game going on again, UTSA and Troy, 12-7, 2 minutes into the third quarter in that one. And that's in Orlando. But there are other games going on, and we had to do our college picks like we've done throughout the year, and it's like basically a dead heat right now. So here are the picks for this week, and there's a lot of differences. I didn't know this. Cincinnati, coaching change. Louisville, coaching change. In fact, he's going to Cincinnati. Paul and I take Cincinnati. Craig takes Louisville.
One of these I'm not going with. I'm not picking Rice over Southern Miss. Absolutely not. Maybe I didn't send that one, but absolutely not. Would not do that.
Yeah.
So that needs to be changed. But outside of that, let's
It looks
roll.
like a pretty good Christmas tree.
Well, I'm not picking Rice to beat Southern Miss. No.
Yeah. I'll say this. No Malik Cunningham in this bowl game, which is why I went with Cincinnati. The coaching spiderweb of this thing, in that I'm sure Scott Satterfield has gone and told them everything they need to know, but I also know that, I don't know. There's too much confusion here. The reason I picked this is because Malik Cunningham's not going to play for Louisville, so I will go with Cincinnati in that one.
I was going to say, man, Satterfield left, but so did Luke Fickell.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty big too. It's not like, it's just one of them. So, look, it's bowl season. I'm not putting a lot of scientific theory, like if this was a week 5 matchup in conference play or something between two teams. Like these are bowl games. There's a lot of variables. Some of them we're going to know. Some of them we're not going to have any idea. Like, for example, today the NCAA just announced that you can have bowl participation. So, how many teams were preparing the last couple weeks? Did they have any idea that this might be coming? If you set it out to where you had a guy who played 4 games and you didn't think he could play in this bowl game, now he can. How much is that affecting, in a good way, teams and what they thought bowl season was going to be? But, yeah, I mean, the Malik Cunningham thing certainly dampens my expectations for Louisville here. But, I mean, I just feel like this is a total, throw it up in the air. I don't think Cincinnati's got great quarterback play by any means. So I don't feel like that's, a big win in their favor either. So, yeah, I went with the Cardinals. I feel like of the two programs, they're the one that has kind of the more momentum right now off the field. And, both have had to go through a similar situation, unfortunately, with coaching changes. But, I don't know. I didn't. It's one of those toss-ups to me.
I didn't want to do bowl games because of exactly what we just discussed, because I just think it's so many moving parts. But then that makes it more fun, I guess, or maybe
it's a way to talk
less
about
obvious. So I'll take Cincinnati. Jackson State, Deion Prime headed to Colorado, but he's going to coach them out. They're 2 touchdown favorites against North Carolina Central. We all take Prime across the board.
Yeah, I don't think this is any kind of – they still have those players there.
Oregon State, and Florida. I take Oregon State. Paul, you took Oregon State. Craig took the Gators.
Yeah, the Gators are starting Jack Miller at quarterback, who's never played. So I'm going to go with Oregon State, except for the fact that I do think the Gators probably have a better and more, even though the records may have indicated, I think their Gators roster is probably a little bit more talented than Oregon State's. But Jack Miller starting at quarterback, to me, that's the and then, of course, if he gets injured at all, then you're into, the wild world of walk-ons there from Gainesville. So that's why I'm taking
Craig,
the Beavers in this
You
one.
Want to change your mind before this one, or you're going to still go with the Gators?
I'm still going to go with the Gators.
Okay.
I mean, I feel like they're still the more talented team overall. I feel like they're going to be able to play some defense, and I understand the quarterback spot's a big mystery with Jack Miller now, but I just think this is like one of those things where like talent comes into play and just the bowl setups just being weird. This isn't like this is again like week 7 and they were in the same conference and that. Like I'd probably go with Oregon State, but yeah, I'd go with the Gators here.
All right, I took the Beavers. Because of our chat room friend.
Oh, Clint? Yeah. Clint Moses.
All right, now. No, I just took the Beavers. I think they're going to win the game. Washington State and Fresno State. I am the only one here. I'm in the minority here at Fresno State after beating Boise. I said Red Hot Boise State a minute ago. Obviously, Craig corrected me. They lost their last game to Fresno State. I like teams like this that are pretty damn good, under the radar in ways against teams that are Power 5. Even though Washington State's had a nice run, I'm taking Fresno State.
It's a great quarterback matchup with Cam Ward and Jacob Hayner in this game. I kind of coin flipped it on which one I thought. I think this is, of the games this weekend, this is maybe the one that's least affected by the outside college football world of portal and coaching changes, although, Eric Morris is leaving Washington State to come to North Texas. But I like Cam Ward just a little bit more than Jake Hayner, but I think it's still going to be a pretty good little quarterback battle.
Yeah, I completely forgot about the Eric Morris aspect of this, and so there's your moving parts for you and why it's hard to kind of do this during bowl season. But, Fresno State's red hot. I mean, that's probably the smart pick, given their little win streak. They're not little win streak, but their significant win streak rolling in here. Like I said, I didn't think about the Eric Morris part of this, but I do like Cam Ward. I think, this quarterback battle will be a lot of fun to watch, and I think this will probably be a game with a lot of scoring, and, who the hell knows during bowl season and a couple talented quarterbacks, what could happen. So, yeah, I mean, again, this is not a lot of, we're not betting on these games like some people who are really probably struggling with some of the intangibles and like some of the things that are shifting in terms of lineups and coaches and things like that. So having fun with it. I feel like this is going to be a fun shootout game, and I'll default to the Cougars.
I think we're all going to go undefeated. That does seem to be technically impossible, but I think we are. Southern Miss in Mobile in their backyard against the Rice Owls. Craig has the R next to him, but he's not taking Rice. Across the board, on record, Southern Miss.
Emory's already apologized for that.
No problem.
By the way. So,
no problem.
Yeah, but
I just wanted to make sure very clear.
Rice is only in this game because of book learning. So that's why they're there, is because they're academics, which is great, good for them. But these games are not settled in the laboratory; they're settled on the field. So
how dare you condescending against Southern Miss and academics?
Well, I mean, compared to Rice, I mean,
most anyone against Rice.
Yeah. So, so Southern Miss, I have them here ready to roll. So,
Rice really shouldn't be in a bowl game. Taylor McCarg, who is a Rice alum, doesn't even like them getting cheered. Doesn't even like them getting any sort of attention really for this game, because I think he is one of many people who feel like change is actually needed. So going to a bowl game is the exact opposite direction of where you're trying to go if you're a supporter of the Rice Owls. So that's kind of the feeling going in. That gives you any sort of vibes on this one. So, yeah, give me Southern Miss, who had a good year. It's the Lending Tree Bowl for what it's worth. I like Southern Miss here.
I took Southern Miss, too. Now, New Mexico Bowl in Albuquerque, SMU and Brigham Young, to our good friend Tanner Mordecai. And Brigham Young, who's without Hall, the quarterback, and others that they've kind of had, and they're kind of in a little bit of a free-for-all on their roster with Kalani Sitake and the Cougars.
This one was also a tough one to pick, even with Jaron Hall going to be out, because BYU is probably a little bit better, player for player than SMU is, although I think that's not too much. But I just picked SMU because, again, Tanner Mordecai is going to play and Jaron Hall's not. So, they already lost a quarterback to the transfer portal to BYU. So, again, things get weird. So these are not like deep, like X and O football things. It's more, well, this guy's quarterback's going to play and the other guy's isn't. So I'll go with that.
All right.
I don't even know why I picked BYU, to be perfectly honest with you. I have no idea what I was thinking picking BYU, especially in light of Jaron Hall. I'll stick with him. It's fine. But, I don't, especially against Tanner Mordecai and Rhett Lashley's offense, they're going to probably be, I don't know who else in or out for SMU, like in terms of, Rice, if like he's playing or not. I would imagine he probably is, but I mean, yeah, they got some dangerous weapons. So SMU is the good pick here, but yeah, I don't know what I was doing.
Because of Hall, and you mentioned that yesterday, that's why I picked SMU. You never know. Again, that game is tomorrow night, 7:30. Now, Phil Bennett joins us in about 45 minutes, and I mean a tell-all on many things about his career, his thoughts about Dave Aranda and maybe the next defensive coordinator. He did not give a name, but an interesting story about when Aranda was a younger coach. So that's going to be today at 5, and they're at home, and this is a tough one now. Boise State, I think, is favored by maybe 8-10 against North Texas. North Texas playing basically in their backyard of Denton.
Yep, I just wonder if there's too much going on at North Texas the last couple weeks, although I'm sure the feeling, like, Phil's going to retire after this. I mean, there's going to be certainly a lot of win-1 for the Gipper for him, but just Boise State's just been better all year.
Boise State's fine. Like, I don't think we need to make out like there's some super great team or anything. I mean, they went on a run at the end of the year, and then they, got beat by Fresno State. I mean, they improved, and it looked at one point early in the year like you had to start wondering about Andy Avalos and like what was going to go down. And then they obviously make the change, at OC and the change at quarterback. Bachmeier enters the transfer portal. Cutter starts to helping on a different level. So yeah, I mean, Boise's definitely a team that grabbed momentum where there really wasn't one early on. I think North Texas being in their backyard, you got win-1 for the Gipper with Phil Bennett. Eric Morris is now around, and he's got like his energy that even he's not the head coach for this game, he's around now. And it's just one of those. I just feel like it's going to be a fun bowl game, and not a ton of thought put into it outside of those things that I just mentioned. So Boise's probably the smart pick here. I'll have better thought out reasonings because I won't be picking these in the morning of day of. Probably I'll put a little more background into it, but I think this should be a fun one for the storylines on the North Texas side of things for sure. So yeah, I'll go with the near hometown team.
So we didn't do the Myrtle Beach Bowl, Paul?
No, I guess not. I guess they couldn't fit it on the graphic.
Okay, that's fine. That was Marshall against UConn.
UConn for me.
Okay,
Marshall.
I'll take Marshall. Doesn't count.
Yeah,
doesn't count.
It's not on the graphic.
Not on the graphic. Does not count. Again, Craig did not pick Rice, so that would be flipped. But that is a very pretty. That looks like an old school letter jacket for some reason, or something like that rapper wears, with all the colors and all the different images on the graphic. Well done, Levi.
Looks like something a rapper wears.
Like one of those letter jackets they would wear. All right, now here are some quotes that Darby Brown, KWTX, we're doing our pregame show, and we have, of course, the Sports Tonight on CW, which is part of their group of channels, every weeknight at 10:30. She was at the coaches show last night at Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue. His first response on having to fire Ron Roberts, a longtime friend, and also special teams and safety coach Ronnie Wheat. It's unfortunate. That's part of the business. I don't like. It's way uncomfortable. Way hard to do. What we're trying to do here, though, listen to this, is different than most. How we treat people, the fit, will find a good fit moving forward.
Yeah, so I think that means with Ron Roberts and Ronnie Wheat that it wasn't about scheme or anything. It's probably different for each guy. Ronnie Wheat, I think the proof is in the pudding that position took a step back this year. With Ron Roberts, I don't think the scheme was necessarily the issue. They couldn't. They didn't trust the defenders to do a lot. They kind of had a more vanilla defense this year than they did last year, so especially coverage-wise. And that kind of goes back into Ronnie Wheat. But I do think that was probably more about just the way he was relating to this particular group of players.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that it also says everything that probably went into the decision of like, oh, well, they just weren't fits anymore. I mean, I think it probably goes deeper than that. I do think on the surface, Ronnie Wheat made it less than a year before he was already out the door, and that was a guy who was, a guy at Aranda's side for a long time. But, you can give some leeway when you lose JT Woods and you lose Jalen Petrie and you feel like the safety room's going to take a little while, but they just never really felt like they got better all year long. And even towards the end of the year when some of the changes was announced, you had the parents of players saying like, oh, well, that needed to happen. Like, oh, that was overdue. Like, what does that say? I mean, that just tells you just something wasn't clicking or wasn't right. But not only were the safeties a bit of a disappointment or never really felt like they got a lot better as the year went on, but special teams was a problem. It was a downright problem all year long. I mean, you had every guy coming back, and he ended up changing kickers, which is fine. I think kicker probably ended up okay when all was said and done, but punting was a clear area where you just weren't the same. And you had an All-American type guy coming back, and he was clearly not as good as he was the year prior. So what was the only difference? The only difference was that you were the coach instead of Matthew Powledge. So I don't, and then so just all the way around, it just wasn't. It took a step back. So that made sense. And then with Ron Roberts, I mean, I think he felt too like, it was time for him to go as much as Dave Aranda probably felt it was time for him to go. So you can call it mutual or what have you, but he's got a great opportunity now at Auburn. His first time in the SEC, despite, being in the Southeast for years and years at this point. So, good for him. That's, going to be a great opportunity. And I don't think there's probably any love lost, but just something was off with this defense. I mean, to return your entire defensive line too deep. Then to add Jackson Player, a near All-American guy from Tulsa, and to get no pass rush whatsoever, ever, in any game, really. And I know there's certain games. Okay,
the second half against Tech.
Oh, yeah, okay. So we can pinpoint them, though, on less than a hand.
That's what I could put them on less than one hand.
Exactly.
You're right, yeah.
And that's what I'm getting at, is that there were major expectations, whether fair or not, that this was going to be a team that's going to be able to get after it on defense and get after your butt. And just in all phases, they looked slow. They weren't great tacklers. They were bad in the secondary a lot of times. Now, some of that you go, oh, that's youth. Sure. Some of that's this or that, injuries. Sure. Some of that, is out of your control. But there was a lot that, you get 5. Now, all of a sudden, you're 8 weeks in. You're 10 weeks in. You're 12 weeks in. And it looks the exact same, basically, as it did in week number 1 or 2. That's where I think if you were Dave Aranda, you're like, what did we accomplish here with all this that we had coming back? You went backwards.
No, they did. They did.
It didn't make sense even with the NFL talent that you lost. And so that's why that move was a bit surprising at first. But the more you think about it, you're like, yeah, okay, I could see why they made that change.
These next two are basically the same. Dave Aranda, this is Darby Brown, KWTX, will be acting as the defensive coordinator for the bowl game. And on top of that says he is running the defense right now. I mentioned that to Phil Bennett. He'll discuss that a little bit later on. He's pretty good at that.
Well, look, and
you wonder if that might at least change a little bit of what his role will be next year, no matter who he brings in as defensive coordinator.
I guess we'll see. But one of the things that Baylor does have, and I'm not trying to homer this up here at all because we cover them, but look, he's a really good head coach. We know one thing about him. He is one of the top 3 defensive coordinators in the country. So if he's calling a defense, he's one of the best 3 guys in the country who does that. So it's been a couple years since he has done it, but I'm pretty sure it's probably like riding a bike. So I think that's going to work out well, at least in the short term for Baylor.
I mean, it's not a team that's super complicated it is a team that's complicated to prepare for, but it's not like he's facing like somebody's about to go throw it around for 500 yards.
Yeah.
So I think he can handle the preparation for Air Force. He can handle teams like that too. It's just the last time we saw him, his LSU defense wasn't exactly lighting the world on fire. If you guys remember, that was that Joe Burrow show, and there was a lot of complaining about why can't the defense also like not give up any points? Like you were supposed to beat everybody 56-7 every week, but
that defense tweaked and eventually got better and good enough. Yeah,
they did what they had to do. They just numbers-wise weren't like top of the country like he had been in other places or other years. But no, I mean the guy knows defense. He's one of the best minds in college football when it comes to that. I think going back to the Ron Roberts thing, I think that's what was so massively disappointing was, I don't know if unprepared is the word, but all offseason long, all you had to do was pay attention to what was going on in the Big 12 in terms of hires, and you could see that the offenses were taking a turn back more towards the open it up, throw it around, air raid, all that. I mean, look at all the changes coaching-wise, and they all indirectly or directly led to a little bit of a shakeup in terms of kind of going back to what we used to know with the Big 12, whereas for a couple of years with Rule and then Aranda, the Big 12 started turning into like play defense and run the football, right? And it took there's people who played in the Big 12 who all go unnamed who still didn't even catch on to that, who still thought that they were playing like Graham Harrell ball the last couple of years in the Big 12. This past season, they've gotten back to more of that style. And I felt like Baylor's defense thought that they were still playing like the way it was the past couple of years, and not quite ready for that. So that won't be a challenge against Air Force because they're not going to throw the ball around a lot, but that is something they've got to analyze. The Big 12 did change this past offseason. Its identity on offense back to more of what we knew, and the defense is going to need to change in kind. So he'll start putting the the pieces in place for whoever's going to be that person that eventually takes over, and we'll see what happens.
One more quote from him, and this to me is it's not eerie because eerie makes it you're scared, but he said he talked with Mike Leach last week on the phone. Coach Leach was reminiscing about the times when Aranda was his GA. They used to go road trips with him. He was driving him around to various places. You know, he also called Sonny Dykes. He also called a few other coaches that he used to have on his staff. But yes, the coach, offensive line coach at Oklahoma. It's weird, and yet you never know how things are. You just kind of pick up the phone and start, catching up with people. And whether maybe inside he knew, I doubt that, but he did talk to a lot of former parts of his coaching tree, which we brought up earlier in the week, which is massive. So he did discuss that and said it again. He's also, it was a call like early in the morning, like he's also known to do, Mike Leach.
No, yeah, he said he got a call from Leach last week, and Leach was talking about a quarterback that it had gone to the transfer portal, and I looked at their transfer portal, and they did have a quarterback that entered, but he ended up at like Tarleton State. So I don't know if it was in relation to that guy or something else, but it did, piqued my curiosity, so I went and looked, and they did, in fact, have a guy leave and go to Tarleton State. So not sure if Aranda had been inquiring about him or what, but for whatever reason, Leach was talking to him about a quarterback, and then he said he started getting off into, like, meandering about just reminiscing on how he used to argue with Dave Aranda's girlfriend, now wife, at the time at some old Tech coaching parties. Leach, a staunch Republican, Aranda's wife, very much not, to quote him exactly, and they would get into it, and Aranda's like, hey, got to have my job, be careful, baby. And Leach, when he called him, talked about this quarterback or whatever, and then started meandering and brought up those conversations from like 2001 and the arguments that he had with Dave's wife over politics. So what are we, 2023 nearly?
Yeah.
20 years after those arguments, and Leach is randomly calling him up and talking about that? It's weird, man. It's weird, and I think it struck him as odd, and that's just kind of how it works. But, yeah, he said that he talked to Sonny Dykes and he talked to Bill Bedenbaugh, all guys who were back in Lubbock at that time, and they got similar phone calls. So just very eerie, but makes you think.
It does, and that's why I wanted to bring up that last quote from Darby. We're going to have a lot more college football to get to, including news on Graham Harrell, who appears to be headed to Purdue. How about that? West Virginia fans, haven't seen many of you on that. We'll get to all that in later. Phil Bennett at 5. But coming up next, Baylor men's basketball will play Washington State coming up Sunday in a doubleheader. Actually, it's a quadruple header at American Airlines Center. Jared Nunez of the Baylor men's basketball staff, he's next. And this is 365 Sports. Yes, turkeys, yes, hams, they have those available. Waco Custom Marketplace for whatever you have for the rest of the holidays, not just for what Thanksgiving was about, but maybe what you want to do between now and Christmas, Christmas Day, after Christmas, New Year's, whatever, they have them. I went in there the other day, and I got about 4 new bone-in ribeyes cut. Just to kind of have them, I wrap them up in that butcher's paper, and then I put them in the freezer to have, and man, I love the way they cut the steaks. I love their steaks. Prime, delicious bone-in ribeyes. And then on top of that, I was watching what else they have. Sure, they have pork and poultry. They have seafood. The butcher shop was packed, and so was the bakery with fresh baked bread, kolaches, even meat kolaches if you're interested in that. And there's a section that has riblets and pork steaks and so much more. They can customize and custom whatever your order is. Call ahead of time. Go pick it up. Waco Custom Marketplace for the holidays and anytime. 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
If you're out looking for a great selection of new cars and trucks this holiday season, then shop Allen Samuels in Waco, because we have some of the best deals in Central Texas that will put you in a new vehicle and driving away with confidence. Save big during the Big Finish sales event this month on the new 2022 Chrysler 300 Touring L with total values up to $4,000, plus $500 bonus cash to first responders. Hurry in and wrap up some of the best deals of the year at Allen Samuels in Waco.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
1, 2.
I'm in love with a man named Rudy. I'm okay with that. He knows exactly what I want. He keeps me coming back. He cooks breakfast, lunch, and dinner for me. Does the dishes too. I'm in love with a man named Rudy. Last name Barbecue. It sure is easy to fall in love with Rudy's tasty oak smoked barbecue.
Next in line.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Hi, this is Paul Catalina. I recently got engaged to the love of my life, but the most important thing that I had to do before I popped the question was get that perfect ring. And I know nothing about rings. So I went to the wedding ring store, Boozer's Jewelers on Valley Mills Drive. I knew I needed a custom design, and that's exactly what they do. 9 out of 10 of their engagement rings are designed in-house. The entire process took less than a month, and they were great every step of the way. Great options on financing, excellent selection, and talented designers. My fiance and I get nonstop compliments on the ring. I only deserve credit for doing the smartest thing I could, walking into Boozer's and letting them work their magic. Your one-of-a-kind fiance deserves a one-of-a-kind ring, and that's what you get at Boozer's. Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store on Valley Mills Drive.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Want more updates during the day? Follow 365 Sports YT on Twitter.
Here we go, 365 Sports going right through the middle of the 4 o'clock hour. Craig Smoak to my right, Paul Catalina to my left. I'm David Smoak, and we're now joined by Baylor assistant coach Jared Nunez of the Baylor men's basketball team. Jared, thanks for your time. It's been a while, been too long. Seemed like the schedule's been kind of erratic and home and away and neutral, whatever. And now the game coming up Sunday with Washington State. Do you have an identity yet as a team?
Well, first, appreciate you having me on, Dave. Sorry if my voice is a little hoarse. I was doing a lot of yelling in practice. We just got done with practice. So my voice is a little hoarse. So to answer your question, we're building on that right now. I think we really tried to focus more on the defensive end, just making sure we get back to our identity, making things tough, getting deflections, flying around. We feel like we can score with anybody in the country, but, if we can improve on our defensive rebounding and our defense as a whole, the last 2 games we've gotten a lot better, so we're just trying to build on that.
That Boise game seemed to be Gonzaga game seemed to be really a reestablishment of at least trying to find that defensive identity. What was it that happened between that game early in the week and Friday that lit the candle a little bit on that?
We just pushed the reset button on a couple of things. We adjusted a few things with our positioning. And we had 2 really good days of practice to prepare. So I think a lot of it was just getting back to the basics, making sure we're staying connected, adjusting a couple things, and just the effort. I think our effort improved from the Marquette game to the Gonzaga game. So we were pleased with that.
the young man Langston Love who missed last year, and I think Scott even said, hey, don't expect too much from him, seems to be giving you a lot more than maybe you thought at this time, or at least up until this time. Is that true? And if so, how much has that been a boost?
No, it's been a huge boost. Langston's a heck of a player. He's getting better and better, more healthy each week. Now that he's got the brace off, I think that's helped him as far as confidence and just movement. But he's got an extremely high IQ, can play at all three levels as far as scoring. And then just he's a strong physical kid, so it helps us with if we wanted to go 4 guards, 3 guards. But he's been a tremendous boost for us, and we're just excited that he continues to get healthy every week.
How has this layoff been for finals and all that too? Like you said, you hit the reset button before, you like what you're seeing and going, but having those times to think about that and work on the nitty gritty, how much does that help?
It's been great. I think, since finals are over now, guys get a little bit of a mental break. And then we hopefully can get these next 2 going into a few days break for Christmas. And then, as you know, everything starts up fresh. Once we get back from Christmas, then you got a couple, you got a bye game, and then you're getting into Big 12. And as you know, that's a grind. So we often talk about, the season is kind of broken up into four periods. You got preseason, you got, non-conference, and then you got your conference schedule, and then you got postseason. So coming into this, we're heading into the 3rd period. So, it was good to get a break for our guys, but we're ready to get locked in.
Has the rebounding, as far as team rebounds, or some of the toughness inside on rebounding, has that been a little bit less than you thought?
I think that's a concern for us right now, just as a staff and as a team, and our guys are aware of it. So we're trying to get better at that, adding some new drills, showing film. Guys are taking it personal, which is good. And so hopefully, starting on Sunday, we can show some improvement in that area.
Your schedule's not been easy, and that's what you don't want, an easy one starting out, but you did get to play some teams that have very specific strengths, like a Virginia and a Marquette, UCLA, Gonzaga, all those on your schedule. How much does that help when you see a team that is really good at one aspect that you're trying to improve on, so that you have that on film to say, like, look at what these guys did really well compared to what we were doing in that moment?
Yeah, Coach always says, the smart take from the strong, and we were fortunate enough to play very, very good programs in the non-conference. So we have some things on film, like you said, that were things that were good, and then things that we know we need to improve on. But I think that helps us prepare for not only Washington State, but going into the Big 12 as well.
Jared, do you have with Flagler, obviously with Cryer, Flo, guys that are back, are they self-motivated among the players, the leaders on this team? Is this team led by the players, so to speak?
Yeah, absolutely. And we always say, a player-led team is the best team. Mm-hmm. And I think for us last year, we felt like if we were healthy, unfortunately we had some injuries, we felt like if we were healthy going into the tournament, we could have beat anybody. We were undefeated when everybody was healthy. So I think, our returning guys got a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, which is good. And we want to keep that chip and use it as motivation to move far in the tournament and to have some success starting Sunday, but also going into the Big 12.
Well, yeah, you would have to say that the biggest difference between 2021 and 2022, right, is in 2021, when you won the title, you had, outside of COVID, you had a couple of bumps and bruises, but nobody missed significant time at all. And that is extremely rare, even for national championship teams, for you guys to have that.
It's very, very rare. And, oftentimes you got to get a little bit lucky. We know that not only in the tournament, but throughout the season. You just got to stay healthy and you got to be peaking at the right time. So for us, I think we've adjusted a little bit to do our job to make sure our guys getting the rest and the health that they deserve and that they need to go into the season. But hopefully we can stay healthy, knock on wood, and we can keep everybody ready to go.
You were promoted at the end of March after the season ended. and you took that job. I think you had you on right after that time, Jared. It was great to talk to you, and I know it meant a lot to you as well. How has that changed your day, your maybe itinerary, so to speak?
Well, I mean, I was bald going into the season, so if you can be even more bald, I think that's kind of what happened. But no, it's been great. You know, I enjoy the challenge of studying more film, preparing scouts, getting better every day as a coach, and getting better every day trying to help our guys put them in a position to be successful. So it's been a wonderful experience. I love the guys we work with. We got a very, very close staff. And obviously, Scott and I are extremely close. We've been close for over 20 years. We got a unique relationship. You yelled at me a little bit more now, which is okay. But no, it's been great. And I look forward to the challenge, like I said, and getting better every day as a coach.
It's not a conference game. It's not to get in a tournament game, but beating Gonzaga and finding a way the way you did down the stretch. How much did that give the program a pick-me-up at the right time?
We definitely needed it. I mean, obviously, coming off that a disappointing loss against Marquette, which, anytime you have a first road game, it's going to be tough. Give credit to those guys. They were fired up. They had a great game plan, and they opened our eyes to a lot of things we need to improve on. But for us to go into that environment, which is pretty much a home game for the Gonzaga, and for us to do all that travel, and for us to play and give the effort we gave, and to fight through some adversity and to hold the number one team in the country offensively to 60 points. I mean, 60-something points. I mean, that's a great accomplishment for us. So, we were excited, but it's definitely something that we can build on.
All right, so you have this throat issue because you're screaming and yelling and you're coaching. I'm not saying it's screaming and yelling, but you're coaching. You're raising your voice. Lozenges, how are you going to doctor that up before maybe the next time you see the team?
So definitely some throat stuff. But, Starbucks has got this thing called a medicine ball, and all of our coaches get it. So I'm going to have to get one tonight, maybe one again in the morning, and I should be good.
What is that, Paul? What is that?
It's like tea, right?
Yeah, it's like tea. I don't know everything they put in it, but I'll tell you, that thing works, man.
Honey is good.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
Honey.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Honey.
Jared, you've had the neutral games, Vegas. You had the neutral game in South Dakota. You have the neutral game, of course, coming up on Sunday. Is that part of planning for when you get to a tournament when there are neutral games everywhere?
No, absolutely. Absolutely. We try to put our guys and prepare our guys to be in environments that are neutral, like you said, to play in arenas, just putting them in that environment to help to prepare them for what we're going to hopefully see in the postseason.
Thank you, Jared. Have a great day. We appreciate your time, and good luck on Sunday night.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Jared Nunes, assistant coach, now part of Scott Drew's staff, been a part of the staff, but promoted when Jerome Tang, and they had movement, of course. And, man, he was so thrilled back when that happened. No nonsense. You could see and hear him barking because of his voice, and they play Washington State up in Dallas following the women's game against Arizona, 2 top 20 women's teams who play as well on Sunday evening. Now, when we come back, some more things to get to as far as Graham Harrell,
the
Army story about the armed forces, players in the armed forces being able to play right away. By the way, Troy now leads UTSA 15-12 late in the third quarter, so they've come all the way back.
Yeah, Frank Harris has not been very good in this game. A couple bad picks deep in Troy territory, and this is one of the first times I've seen a team as physical, if not more physical, than UTSA, if that makes sense. Troy's out there popping some pads, and both teams do. So this has been an ugly football game, man. Like, don't get it. It's a close score. It's been an ugly football game, but yeah, Troy just took the lead. They've got the ball, and they're still deep in their own territory, but they're out there popping pads. This is a good little ugly game between two teams that can play ugly but play really physical.
Yeah, Frank's playing banged up too. So.
He doesn't have an ability to plant and maybe throw off the right foot, or at least have enough of that leverage when he does.
He went to the tent earlier and he came back out, so we know that he's coming back next year. That big NIL deal, that the big announcement, what was that, earlier this week?
I think it was
It's
at
been
the end of last
Okay,
year.
I was about to say, it seemed like it was way long ago, but yeah, Troy moving the chains, head towards midfield. I do have a couple of Big 12 recruiting notes I want to get into,
All right.
a couple of commits as well in that little grab bag segment we're about to do.
All right, let's do that next update. Earlier again, start the third quarter, China Spring, right here in our backyards, defending 4A Division II champions, down 21-7 to Bernie to start the second half. It was 21-0. And then earlier, Carthage won their 9th state championship under Scott Surratt with a 42-0 blanking of Wimberley. Tonight, there's going to be a massive crowd. Not that there's not one right now with Dallas, with South Oak Cliff from inside the city of Dallas against Port Neches Groves, and they travel incredibly well. This is 365 Sports. Petty Clinic, LowT.com. Dr. Kent Petty can help you become the high-performance man that you want to be, need to be, used to be. As Father Time takes over, and he does, your body, 1 out of every 3 men have symptomatic issues of low testosterone. You might be one of them. Maybe you're not, and that's great. It doesn't mean when you're 50 plus, it could get to you a lot earlier than that. It's just part of Father Time in your body. Testosterone level can lead to you not sleeping as well, to not having the same energy, to not having the same sex drive that you had or need or still want. So Dr. Petty can do this. Petty Clinic, LowT.com. Contact them, top left-hand corner. Tell them I sent you. They will set up an appointment for you to get your blood drawn. He will get your blood results. He will look at the results, and then if your testosterone level is too low, he can give you a program, put you in a program to increase your testosterone level, and you get to be the man you want to be, need to be, and used to be. No problem. Contact them, pettycliniclowt.com.
Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Bird Colgan Ford. It's that time of year. It's football season. And BK Ford is a proud supporter of the best high school football teams in Texas, right here in Central Texas. BK Ford is proud to sell the #1 truck in Texas, the F-Series truck, led by our leading rusher, the F-150, 45 years in a row. Lock in your best price and rate today by custom ordering your new F-150 at BK Ford. Simple, easy, trusted. Experience better at Bird Colgan Ford.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Chuck Verno, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Chuck Verno, 720 North 64th Street in Waco, 254-732-1161. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and 2-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to the water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
It was broad daylight. I stepped into a gas station for 5 minutes to grab a snack, and just like that, my car was broken into. They made out like a bandit. My laptop, my phone, everything. I called my agent to see what could be done, and he restored my faith in humanity. My claim was processed so quickly, and I was able to recover my losses.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Are you a Sikkim 365 superfan? Then try out our premium subscriptions at Sikkim365.com.
Baylor defensive lineman Siaka Ika named third-team All-American. Young man who transferred to Baylor from LSU was a part of the Phil Steele All-American team. There's many of them. Graham Harrell. Adam Rittenberg reporting that he's headed to Purdue to join new head coach Ryan Walters. Harrell was, of course, at West Virginia last year. Prior to that, 3 years at USC. Tied to Mike Leach. Played for him. Obviously has been around in the coaching tree. He was also at UNT. And he now headed to Purdue to be their offensive coordinator.
I mean, good for him just simply because time was running out in Morgantown. I mean, I think you see that Neil Brown is basically a dead man walking for all intents and purposes. Now that Rim Baker's taken over as AD, he's made it clear that Neil Brown's going to be around next year, but that wasn't to the joy of that fan base by any means. JT Daniels is out the door. I think you now got to look at obviously where his OC is heading, and that could be a good landing spot for him at Purdue because they're losing Aiden O'Connell, so that would seem to make a lot of sense that JT Daniels could end up there. We'll see on that, however, but I mean, Harrell's been a guy who's, not quite been able to get that UNT, incarnate word, whatever type of head coaching gig, and was at USC, unfortunately, with Clay Helton, where the feeling was – it was ominous that was not going to be, long lasting. So he got to be there for a couple of years, and inevitably here comes Lincoln Riley. Riley wanted his own thing, so Harrell's out searching for a job, and fortunately was able to get the late call from Neil Brown. And when they first started off this year, it looked like things were going to go pretty well offensively for them. But then Donaldson gets banged up, and just everything sort of went sideways for West Virginia. And then by the end of the year, obviously JT Daniels isn't even the starter anymore. So. That ran out quickly as far as the honeymoon period there, and I was wondering what's he going to end up doing, and I don't know, to be very clear. I don't know Graham from Adam. I just know his wife from going to school together and whatnot. So I want what's best for her, and I know that they had to be a little bit unsure of what's going to happen beyond next year, and that assurance that Neil Brown will be here for one more year. But with the new AD, I think we kind of know what that means, folks, right? Yeah. You better go have a real, and not just a good year, not just make a bowl game, but a good year that shows that you've got something building beyond one season. And I don't know that Neil Brown's going to be able to show that. And so, it was up in the air what the future is going to look like. And so now he's got a spot where it's a brand new coach. The expectations aren't you got to win right now. He's going to be, given some control, and I think it's a good landing spot for him.
Well, I like Purdue's coaching staff that has their head coach is a brilliant young defensive mind, and their offensive coordinator is a brilliant young offensive mind. If they can get players there, I mean, scheme-wise, that's going to be interesting to see is the spread with that kind of Purdue defense. If they can find that balance and play complementary football at Purdue, look, I know that, it's going to be tough to climb up the charts in the Big Ten and play in a Big Ten championship game again, the way that the divisions are going to be. You add USC and UCLA into that mix, it's going to be tough. But I like what Purdue's done to at least try to pave that road if they can.
Fresh air, something fresh.
Well,
by the way,
to your point about the they're not expected to go beat Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, or whatever. Like, so you've got time to build. Like, you've got time to start, and you're not worried that you're getting fired next year. You're not worried that, you got some time to build some things, and I think that stability is going to be good for everybody involved.
Northwestern All-American offensive lineman Peter Skoronski is declared to go to the NFL draft. He's a hell of a player, All-American, up for a lot of those awards throughout the offseason. His father was a hell of a player with the Green Bay Packers back in the day. He won the Remington Pace Offensive Lineman of the Year award. And again, two-time All-Big Ten. He is headed to the NFL. Now, this is one, and Craig is going to have a couple of recruiting notes, and we'll get to that in a second. But this is the one that kind of hit today. Cole Kublik, the NCAA issued a one-time blanket waiver in the FBS in football to exempt postseason participation from the limit of 4 contests by any student-athlete who participates in without using a season of competition. You can play 4 games. The bowl game would nuke your red shirt because of all the opt-outs, the transfer portal, all of these things that are going on. The NCAA is going to say, no, a one-time blanket waiver. So you're going to see guys playing bowl games this weekend or whatever over the next 2 or 3, 4, 5 weeks that otherwise we're probably not going to play.
They say it's a one-time thing now, but unless the transfer portal and opt-outs change, they're going to have to just take the bowl game out of the 4 because it doesn't apply to – I know the complication and the issue is a bowl game does not apply to every single team, but if you're in a bowl game and you have 12 opt-outs, or transfers or whatever, all that together, and, you need to get some guys and not – burn a year of eligibility just to get through this game, then I don't think that needs to be a thing that the NCAA should have to deal with every year. It should just be, okay, even maybe if it's not every team has to do it, you should be able to apply if you hit a certain standard and get it. I don't know. But this shouldn't be a thing that every year is going to be have to go over again and again and again, because I know they're giving a one-time blanket waiver now, right? Well, what's going to change between December 15th, 2022 and December 15th, 2023 rules-wise?
I mean, why are they announcing it the week bowl games start? That's what I would like to know. Like, again, you've been practicing for like the last 2 or 3 weeks if you're some of these teams, and you're like, okay, this guy's played in 4 games. I don't know that he can do this. Like, I mean, it's not that big a deal in the long run if, you suddenly can tell a freshman, like, oh, no, wait, you can play in the Laguna Beach Bowl, and you still get the red shirt even though you didn't think you could. I mean, that's not that big of a deal, but I mean, I do think it makes sense in light of, guys sitting out because of injuries or guys sitting out because of NFL draft hopes. I think just having that opportunity to play in a bowl game is a good deal. So I'm not mad at it. I mean, it's another thing in favor of the players that, they've for so long not had a lot that went their way. And it seems like now, like a lot of things are breaking in a really good way for the players. So that's good to see. But I mean, it just came out of nowhere. Like, I don't know if there's been scuttlebutt about it. I'm cool with it, obviously. I think it's great for a lot of teams out there that they don't have to maybe, dip down into walk-ons to be able to field a capable team to play 4 quarters, depending on how injury-riddled you are. I just think it would have been great to have some heads up. You know what I mean? But not that big of a deal, just weird timing that it's announced the day bowl games are starting that you suddenly can do that. But outside of that, I think it's good.
We'll have more after the conversation with North Texas interim head coach Phil Bennett. Craig with a couple of recruiting notes, but we're going to get into the military academies and players being able to go right into the NFL and how that might not be the case. Paul's the one that set that up. We'll get to that after the interview with Phil Bennett. Craig, a couple of recruiting notes you said involving the Big 12.
Yeah, and man, TCU is really setting themselves up to have a very strong close to their class. As you might imagine, being in the college football playoff certainly raises your profile. Being undefeated in the regular season does that too. Today they got a big-time commitment from Jamel Johnson, a safety out of Arlington Seguin. He was thought to, based on percentages, be a Texas lean or favorite, and instead he goes with the Horned Frogs over the Longhorns, over Ole Miss, had an Alabama offer, offers from all over the country. So TCU, if you look at their crystal balls for, transfer portal guys and they've rumored to get a couple big receivers, out of the transfer portal. That's not official, but they've been linked there. Now getting a guy like Johnson out of the Arlington area. I think that's a big-time pickup, and they've got some serious momentum, as you'd imagine they would, right? They're playing in the college football playoff. They should have some dadgum momentum, so they're looking like they're taking advantage of it. Obviously, last night, a big get for Texas with five-star linebacker Anthony Hill committing, top 20 player in the entire country, number one linebacker in the country. And if you look at their linebacker class, they've really got a freaking, premier blue chip linebacker class going right now. So they've loaded up, and he's a cherry on top of what was already a pretty good group, but that's massive for them, and yet another five-star to their class. So, they're going to close strong, and not a commitment today for Oklahoma, but you can also, and I should mention too, with TCU also had Channing Canada from Trinity Valley, a commit from this week. So that was yesterday, I believe. Yeah, the corner from TVCC. 4-star rated guy. So a couple big pickups for TCU in that regard the last 2 days. But Oklahoma also seems like they're gaining some momentum as well in the grand scheme of things, getting some crystal balls for some pretty big-time players. So they're going to be one to watch when it comes to, down the stretch. And in particular, and 247 is just so junky right now. But, yeah, Peyton Bowen, safety committed to Notre Dame, a 5-star, is starting to get some love for Oklahoma to flip him. So he's one of a couple of big-time defenders they're getting a lot of momentum for. So
isn't that what we mentioned in that story yesterday when Notre Dame was worried about him?
Yeah.
Yep, when they mentioned Oregon, but we also mentioned Oklahoma. I think
Is that who we're talking about?
No, Oregon was who he brought up, but Oklahoma was also a part of that particular story.
Yeah, but he's getting some love for OU now, and they're also getting some love for Tassili Akana, a 4-star edge rusher. We know what a premium those players are in today's college football. So OU getting some buzz. Texas obviously with a big get. TCU with a couple big ones, and that's just a little peek in the Big 12, but we can spread it out over the coming days.
All right, Paul, we'll have more on that military academy story involving can they go straight to the NFL, get drafted or not. But coming up next, Garrett, do you have the quote from Phil Bennett from his press conference earlier today? This is from Phil Bennett. I had a chance to visit with him, but this is also part of it. North Texas interim head coach Phil Bennett asked if this will be his last game. I don't know. I can't say. My wife said she's going to have a man sleeping in the house next year. And if it's not going to be me, I better show up. If it's going to be me, I better show up. I'm an Aggie, but I'm not stupid. I bring that up to him, and, of course, you're going to love his answer.
Classic Phil.
Classic Phil. Which also means if that's true that he retires, that he's back with us every week during the college football season, as long as I send him gift certificates to Republic Steakhouse in College Station. This is 365 Sports.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac, got a lot of great deals going on right now over at Richard Carr. They are the people that you can count on. Not only for a great deal on a vehicle, but also great customer service as well. Before the process gets sealed, signed, and delivered, after you get your vehicle, or if you didn't even buy your vehicle there to begin with, like me. I got my vehicle from someplace else a few years back, but when I've needed some repairs after a couple of fender benders and just various things going wrong, they have been the people that I've counted on for my vehicle, and it's led me to hopefully not needing a car anytime soon, but when I do, Richard Carr will be the place that I go to. And right now, if you're in need of a vehicle, whether pre-owned, new, maybe you don't even see the car that you're looking for, no matter what the situation is, they can help you out. Right now, they've got gifts that can't be beat, so drive on over and make it a memorable holiday season with a truck or car from Richard Carr. Dozens of Sierra trucks, dozens of SUVs in stock. They've got the biggest inventory in over 2 years. Right now, get 3.9% interest for well-qualified buyers on Sierras and Terrains from the GMC line. Both of those in stock. 3.99% financing on Buick Encores, Buick Envisions, and Buick Enclaves. All those models in stock. And they've also got, if you're not looking to buy new, as I mentioned, dozens of quality pre-owned cars and trucks in stock under $20,000. You can check those out as well. They're affordable, thoroughly inspected, and ready to finance. And they have quality vehicles ready to reliably take you on the road this holiday season. But as I mentioned as well with the customer service, you're not looking to buy a car. You just want to drive your car or truck or SUV a little while longer, their award-winning service department is standing by to keep you on the road. So go to the website, richardcar.com, to see their service specials and to set an appointment for quick and reliable repair or service. For 23 years in Central Texas, they built a reputation as the people you can count on for your automotive needs, run by proud Central Texans. Log on to richardcar.com today. Call now or go see them now off Highway 6 at the Imperial exit.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like our free First mobile app, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Waco Custom Marketplace is your home for holiday favorites for parties or time with the family, with various specials available while supplies last in store or ordering by phone, including 8 to 10 pound half spiral hams at $4.15 a pound, 12-pound pit hams at $4.35 a pound, 8 to 22 pound bone-in hams for $3.40 a pound, 14 to 16 pound whole raw turkeys at $2.85 a pound, and $4.80 a pound for 9 to 12 pound whole smoked turkeys, 6 to 8 pound mini pit hams for $5.99 a pound. Limit 4 of each item per customer. Call in advance to ensure availability or drop by Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco. Waco Custom Marketplace, your full-service butcher shop for customized orders or cuts of your favorite steaks or beef tenderloin or specially ordered prime rib roast. WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. The team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
The secret to living your best life is pizza, obviously. Golden crust made from scratch, 3 fresh signature cheeses, and the toppings, crispy old world pepperoni, savory Italian sausage, bacon. That's called a dream team. Find everything you need to live your best life and more at Marco's Pizza. Owner Bob Mock has been delivering pizza since 2001 and is the proud owner of 4 locations in Waco, Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to be open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive, North 19th Street, right behind the bank, is a hidden gem in Waco. If you're a fan of bourbon, especially local Texas bourbons, that's where you gotta go. Balcones, TX, Devil's River, whatever it is, they've got it. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, plus the best selection of craft beers in Waco, seasonally churned out throughout the year, whether it's spring, summer, fall, or winter. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, best selection of craft beers, a speedy drive-through window, and excellent customer service. Find out more on Instagram or just go by and see them. Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street behind the bank.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
The 5 o'clock hour is brought to you by Edward Jones Investments and financial advisor Chuck Verno, who'll navigate you through today's financial climate. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
We are now joined by somebody who is a friend of the show as we've ever had since we started 365 Sports, and even before then, Phil Bennett, interim head coach at North Texas. There is at least smoke in the air that this could be it for you.
You know, I told you, Dave, I've had a great time this year. It's just I've got to go home. I've got to talk to Julie, and as I said, I've got to heed to her advice. And, I'm 67 years old. I've had an unbelievable career, and it's just time to evaluate some things.
Are you embarrassed by some of the attention you're getting because of people? I mean, I know you're always full throttle, but I mean, I bet your phone started blowing up.
Yeah, it did, and it's just, it's been such a journey, and I'm so thankful, as I said today, and just there comes a time that a couple of things. You're not that I don't have the energy, or I'm very thankful. I'm very healthy. It's just there comes a time that things slow down a little bit for you, and I'm thankful for my time here and everywhere I've been. And I'm just getting to the point that maybe a couple of things. I saw the last couple of years what RC went through with the cancer scare, and then Mike, passing on, that quick. I mean, it affects you, and it changed your thinking. You just don't know how much time you got left, and you want to be with the ones that are important to you.
I don't know. I can't say. My wife said she's going to have a man sleeping in the house next year, and if it's going to be me, I better show up. I'm an Aggie, but I'm not stupid. That is that's such a Phil Bennett quote of maybe all-timer right there.
Well, and we built that place years ago, and she told me, go do your thing, but there's going to be a point that I want you back. and I had a couple of years there when I was with you doing your show and enjoyed it. And, just so many times, I thought, she told me, she goes, well, is this it? Is this it? So, and they asked me the question, and sort of, it's a true answer, and she did. She said it's not. So we'll evaluate from there.
Phil, you've been an interim coach before. Paul brought this up when you were at Pittsburgh with Wannstedt, and then you took over. So did you learn anything from that experience that you've used or tweaked this week or last week or the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, both times I replaced two unbelievable people and unbelievable coaches, Dave Wannstedt and Seth Luttrell. And both times, now this is crazy, we won the Big East. We tied Cincinnati for the Big East championship, and there was a conflict with him and our athletic director. And then this situation, we played in the championship game against UTSA. And, the thing, I guess the biggest thing that I learned, Dave, that it's about the players, not about me, not about the coaches. It's about the players. And I want them to know that it's a players' game, and they're important to us. I got with the senior leadership and just talked about, hey, this is the way I'd like to do it. I want your input. And it's, to this point, they have been outstanding. We've lost nobody to the portal. And, I said, let's unite and try to finish this season on a really good note for you guys, not for us, but for you guys. And I think we have a chance to do that.
Phil, doesn't that say a lot about you? Not just the kids, the young men who are rallying around all of this, maybe even a lot about what it says about what they loved about Seth Luttrell. This is part of the business, but what does that say about Phil Bennett?
I'm not real big. I've always thought that I tried to be a person of integrity. Sometimes I probably truthful beyond the point, what I know to be the truth. And I just know this. I know that coaching is a blessing. And to be able to do the things I've done over the last 44, 45 years, what my coaches have meant to me, I've never had a bad job, Smoak, not one. I've had some frustrating situations. I've never worked with a bad group of people. I hear horror stories. Some coaches say, man, this was a terrible job. I've never been around that, ever. I have worked with Hall of Fame coaches. My position coach was R.C. Slocum, Hall of Fame, best of the best. Emery Ballard, I can go on and on. Bill Snyder might be the best story in the history of college football. Mm-hmm. I was with Fred Akers. I'm just very thankful for the guys that have impacted me and given me the opportunity. I had a guy that gave me my first coordinator job at 28, and Jim Kleiner, who happened to be Boise State's first head coach. So it's a crazy ride, but it's been such a blessing.
We'll get to Boise State, and obviously tomorrow night in Frisco in the bowl game, which is a great way to go out and a nice year for North Texas. How did Mike Leach, you mentioned that, impact you a little bit, even more so these last 7 days or so? And do you have, among the million, a favorite Mike Leach story?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Mike, I met him when he was at Iowa Westland with Hal. I've known Hal Mummy forever. And I don't even know how you say it, but Mike has always been somewhat of a quirky guy, but a good quirky. And obviously, when I was when he got the Tech job, we played him. I was the defensive coordinator at K-State, and he had Cliff Kingsbury. And they had some really good receivers, and he was throwing that ball downfield. Well, I had a secondary full of, first and second round picks or high draft picks, great players. And he wasn't able to throw the ball. And he told me, I'll never forget this after the game. He goes, you can only do that stuff with the players that you have. And I looked at him. I said, I know that, Mike. And a couple of years later, here I am, the head coach at SMU. Well, I couldn't do those things. We play a game in Ford Stadium, and he had played me. I guess we'd played 2 years, and this was the third year, and we'd gotten a little bit better, and it was a great game. And it came down to we were trying to score inside the 5. I think it was a 3 or 4 point game. And we thought we'd scored at the end of the game on third down. We didn't. We went for it on fourth. Game's over. I think there was 1 minute and 6 seconds. And I said, put the 2s in. Well, I look up, and Sonny Cumbie was his quarterback. He's got his starters in. And on the first play, on about the 4-yard line, 3-yard line, he's going vertical. And I had to get my brother Jerry, who you know well, off the field because he was raising hell. The game was over, and anyway, they did it again. Lo and behold, a fight breaks out after the game. They didn't score, but it was and Mike and I didn't get to see him because Tommy McVeigh, who was his ops guy, who has also passed, I'd been dear friends with, and I was mad, but not too mad. I get up in my office, and phone rings. It's Tommy McVeigh. He said, Phil, he said, Mike wants to come up and talk to you. Because it's just up the stairs from their locker room. I said, tell him to come up. And he came up, and he was like a little kid that had maybe, had done something, and he walked in, he had his head, he goes, you mad? I said, well, why you do that? He goes, I wasn't thinking, and he was very humble. And I said, I'm not mad. And you couldn't stay mad at him. And he just gets so involved in the game. And he said, your little brother, which I said, that's my older brother. He goes, he's crazy, isn't he? I said, yeah, he is. I remember when we left Baylor, he was at Washington State, and he called me, and he says, hey, I want to hire Kaz Kazadi. And I said, I don't know if Kaz will ever go up there. And he goes, you can help me. But, just a good guy, fun guy to talk to. And he put things in perspective. And just 61 is too young. He's impacted too many people, too many players, too many coaches. It's just been I think everybody has been just a little bit, set back by this.
Phil, you mentioned those matchups when you were at SMU with Texas Tech, and I know that Seth Luttrell was somebody that you knew incredibly well as a player when you were coaching and then as joining his staff, and that's why you did because of him. He moves on. North Texas announced Eric Morris, who I think was at Tech when you were at SMU.
I recruited Eric.
Okay.
I was in shallow water watching him play basketball, hoping Mike Leach didn't offer him a scholarship. And we did, but Mike went to watch. Mike also. This is another story. Mike said, "Oh, I went and watched him play basketball, and I knew he could play for us."
And there you were watching basketball as well. This is part of the business. You've been fired. You've seen others fired who you coached for. It's just the way it is. How do you handle that? You have an incoming group. You've been there before when Jim Grobe and then, of course, Rule came in at Baylor. How is it awkward?
It's not to me. I'm not going to change. It's funny. I have tremendous amount of respect for Eric. I told him, he said, I don't want to make anything uncomfortable. And I laughed and I said, hell, nothing you can do is going to make me uncomfortable. We're on a schedule. We're going to go with that schedule. And this is fixing to be your team. I tell my son and my son-in-law, when you get into college sports or pro sports, you can't run scared. It's something that can happen. It's unbelievable. I go back to the story that I listened to one time with Coach Bryant. He said his wife, Mary Harmon, they're coming back from Baylor. Baylor beat him bad when he was at A&M, and he says, Paul, why we do this? He said he was like in a 56 or 57 Cadillac. I actually heard the story. He said, Mary Harmon, it's like, making love to your wife. He said, when it's good, it's real good. When it's bad, it's still good. and that's what college football is. It's even when it's bad, it's good.
Can you give me thoughts about your team as you focus? Boise State's gotten hot. They had a little bit of a rugged start. You're playing them tomorrow night right in your backyard. Just how preparations have gone, X's and O's wise, scheme wise, preparation wise.
Dirk Cutter became the coordinator after game number 4. Simplified the offense. They put another quarterback in. And it's crazy, Smoak. They have a lot of Texas kids on their roster. They run the ball well. They set things up with a run, play action pass. Their quarterback is active. Defensively, they squeeze the box. They're physically tough. You've got to get them off of you by throwing the ball. You got to get the ball downfield a little bit. And they have gotten better and better. And much like us, they didn't play the championship game to the level that they wanted to. So they've got a lot to prove also.
Randy Clements joining Mac Brown's staff.
A great addition for Mac. Great addition. Chip Lindsey, who was with me at Arizona State, is also going to be on that staff. And what's crazy, we tried to hire Randy and Randy and Chip at Arizona State at that time, and Chip ended up going to Auburn and Arizona State because it was one Baylor coach wouldn't let the other one come. They didn't want to go that far.
I got to ask you this because you've been incredibly opinionated at it, like you are with anything, no matter what it is. Just, you kind of have that ability like Mike Leach to talk about everything. You've talked about this, the transfer portal. Here you're trying to keep guys in the program just to get to a bowl game. It's like even Mack Rhodes said earlier this week and others, it's like chaos with everything going on. NIL, transfer portal. It's not going to go anywhere. Maybe eventually there'll be a little bit more structure. Do you feel like with what's going on today, it might run some coaches out of college football?
I'm not sure it will run them out, but it's dang sure going to change them. The way you used to do business through high school recruiting. That's who I think suffering the most. People are neglecting, evaluating. I know it's killing high school coaches because they're sitting there thinking, nobody's come to, not as many guys are recruiting our players because the first thing people look at, because they're under pressure, is saying, hey, I can go get a kid out of Nebraska if you're North Texas. Or I can go here. I can go there. And the people that are getting neglected on a whole is the high school student athlete. So when you mention the word structure, they've got to change it. They've got to change it where it gets back to some reasoning where you can balance this thing out.
Dave Arand is looking for a defensive coordinator.
He's hire himself.
No, well, he's pretty good, and he's taken over that role until whenever he decides. Have you heard any scuttlebutt on that?
I haven't. I laughed, though. I'm going to call him and tell him, the last time, maybe the last time he played a true option team, he was calling me at 1 o'clock in the morning in Pittsburgh when he was in Hawaii. He was fixing to play Navy, and we had played Navy. That's how Dave and I got to know each other. And I knew he was a special coach then because he was in tune with the details.
Matt Rule at Nebraska. You think that works?
I think Matt's obviously a very good coach. And I think he can bring a lot of things to the table that probably haven't been there since Frank Solich left. So, yes, I think now it's going to take nowadays you can flip it if he gets the right portal deal, right situation. Who knows? But yes, I think he will win there.
National Signing Day is next week. Can we get you now verbally to commit to doing our segments again next year?
You know what? There's a chance we can negotiate that. I like those Republic Steakhouse certificates you gave me. I mean, the price was right.
Okay, well
I'm
then.
not a hard sale, Smoak, especially when I don't have the pressure on me.
No, I know, I know, but I will be in touch with your agent, who you are going to be with again. What do you want to be remembered as?
Number one, you always it's like with your children. I want to be remembered as being a guy that cared deeply about his players. I'm a rather intense guy. Sometimes kids, I've had so many kids tell me years later, hey, I get you now. And I have this saying that as a coach in today's world, a lot of times, just like being a parent, you've got to save these young people from themselves and help develop their mind and to being givers and not takers. I want to be a guy that was respected by his peers. That hey, his kids played hard, they were sound, and they were a team that was hard. It was hard to get over on. I just want them. I want them to know that it wasn't all for naught. That I did it. I never did it for money. Never did it. It was never about me. I did it because I love the game of football. I think the game of football is so entwined with the game of life. Delayed gratification, sacrifice together, uniting for a cause. Our country is so divided right now. And if we ever just sit down and realize that it takes everybody, every political party, every race, creed, color, that, hey, you know what? We're all human and just work together. Being able to work together, it can cure so many problems and don't care who gets the credit. I think football teaches our young people that when they leave, they say, you know what? For me to be successful, be a good husband, a good father, a good worker, I've been trained to do these things. And having God in your life. I mean, we gotta have someone that we all know that the end, it doesn't matter if you're not right with the Lord. And the older I get, the older, more I realize that.
Phil, you've been out of coaching very rarely in all those years since you started working for your alma mater that you mentioned earlier. What will you miss the most? Is it the whistle? Is it the camaraderie? Is it the locker room? Is it the prep? Is it game day? What will you miss the most?
I think it's all the above. But the relationship. I mean, I had a situation today. One of our players came up to me, and this is a guy that's been sort of hit and miss, and I really never knew where I would really rate with him. And he just told me, he said, "Coach, I appreciate you more than you'll ever know." He said, "You never lied to me," and it sort of hit me, and I thought, I didn't always tell him what he wanted to hear, but I'm going to miss all of it. And I like the strategy. I like being with those guys. The locker room is fun. The stuff on the field, going through the battle. We laughed the other day about game time. Everybody's crazy. You've been on the sideline. People who've never been on the sideline, Smoak, they go crazy when they come up. They say, "God,
oh, I know, yeah."
It's a different animal.
You have always been, as you said, someone who said exactly how you felt. And the fact that your current player said you never lied to him, that doesn't surprise me at all. Phil, I can't wait to possibly work that contract with you for next football season or even before that. I love you, man. I really do. I consider you a great friend, and good luck against Boise State.
Well, we're going to need it, and I think it could be a really good game, and we're counting on it. And I want to thank you and all the guys down at Sikkim Sports. I've always appreciated you. I had a great run, and very thankful, and I look forward to that.
Phil Bennett, interim head football coach at North Texas on 365 Sports.
The Big Finish sales event is happening now at Allen Samuels in Waco. Save big on Jeep models like the new 2023 2 or 3 row Grand Cherokee Limited with total values up to $5,000, plus $500 bonus cash to first responders and no payments for 90 days. Jeep SUVs are known for their design and technology. The Grand Cherokee L even brings you extended seating with a 3rd row. Find the Jeep that fits your family and wrap up some of the best deals of the year at Allen Samuels in Waco.
I know you've heard the exciting news. In our ongoing battle to end truck nudity in our lifetime, Pickup Outfitters is growing and expanding. Next year, we'll move into our new, larger facility on Waco Drive with expanded services. And that means we need more soldiers dedicated to help clean the roads and streets of Central Texas of naked trucks. We're currently looking to add 2 positions, a store manager and an installer technician. As a store manager, you'll oversee the day-to-day fight to end truck nudity. You'll work with our team to help concerned citizens outfit their truck. You'll help businesses and contractors in Central Texas get their work trucks prepped to keep our community growing. As an installer technician, you'll outfit naked trucks with new and modern accessories. You'll install lift and leveling kits. You'll work on suspensions. You'll be the grease that keeps our machinery running. Won't you consider joining our team? Apply online, on Indeed, or in person at Pickup Outfitters, 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and 2-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs, and veggie burgers too. Nachos and and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
TFNB Your Bank for Life is the official local bank of Baylor Athletics. Find out why more Central Texas are making TFNB their bank for life. Sign up for our Edge checking and savings accounts to earn interest or cash back. With 5 convenient locations and an award-winning mobile app, banking has never been easier. TFNB Your Bank for Life. Member FDIC.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Check out the 365 Sports family of channels on YouTube. Brought to you by TFNB, your bank for life.
A couple of updates. Troy came back and beat UTSA 18-12. Troy, I think, now has the longest winning streak in FBS college football. Also, one note, tonight, the Division III National Championship game, Mount Union and North Central Illinois, who knocked out Mary Hardin Baylor, they play tonight on ESPNU at 6 o'clock Central. And tonight at 6 o'clock Central, North Dakota State Incarnate Word, G.J. Kinney going to Texas State. That game's on ESPN2.
Yeah, I mean, good for Troy, John Summerall. Great year for the Trojans. Great year for him. And, yeah, good win. This was definitely a bowl game. This was definitely a bowl game. UTSA shut in the second half. Congrats to Oregon. Will Stein clearly was a big part of what UTSA did on offense, and that was never more clear than today because that offense – when he got inside the red zone, he got inside the 10-yard line, absolutely did not know how to function. And Frank Harris was a bit dinged up. Not a great stat line for him. But, yeah, Troy has a great win. And I wonder where Jeff Traylor goes next as far as trying to replace Will Stein because that definitely hurt the Roadrunners
He promoted
today.
from within, I know.
He did already? Okay, yeah. I hadn't followed up on that. So, yeah. So that'll be one to just, Not a fun way for UTSA to end what was a pretty good season, but they'll be back and bounce back nicely. But for Troy, that's big time.
All right, now, earlier today, China Spring 21 apiece with Bernie with, I think, midway through the fourth quarter. Bernie is at the China Spring 40, 4A Division I. Paul sent this earlier. This is the tweet earlier today from Pete Thamel. Army's Andre Carter was poised to be Army's highest draft pick in a half century. A bill passed by Congress, though, on Thursday significantly complicates his NFL future. We've discussed this before.
So this was part of the budget that just got passed. There was military spending involved in it. If you heard about this bill in the news, it was not because of this. It was because of mandatory COVID vaccines not being included in this anymore for the armed services. So those are out of the bill. And the budget's, I guess, on this, at least part of it has passed. But tied into this was a repeal of a law in 2019 that was a bill that was signed into law by Donald Trump in 2019 that allowed athletes at the service academies to apply for a waiver that would allow them to delay their service until their professional athletic opportunities had ended. And now that has been peeled back, and so any of people like Andre Carter will have to now go the Roger Staubach route, should this hold and not change, to make it to the pros. I understand this issue from both sides, and that if you're going to go to a service academy, you have made that choice, that you are committing to the military. But I do think in a not even so much of a roundabout way, this will kind of hurt them in the long run because college football is changing so much. You need to have any kind of even distant incentive out there for guys to come and do that. So I do think that this will at least a little bit hurt some of the talent coming in the new era of college football.
I don't know how many NFL guys are on the roster at service academies, but anyone who is going to transfer out now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
why would you stay? I mean, other than I say, why would you stay there? The commitment you made, and for 97% of those guys, if not higher, then that's the commitment they'll follow through on. But for an Andre Carter, if he knew last year he could probably go to the NFL draft, what's stopping him from transferring?
And he's not grandfathered in either.
Yeah.
So now he's stuck with it.
By grandfathered in, you mean he can't, because he was around when one rule was made that way. Yeah. That's not going to still apply to him, even though
it's not. He was incoming freshman starting next year.
Was this Keenan Reynolds who's the last one that was in this situation?
Keenan Reynolds was a big guy who pushed for it because
Navy quarterback, right?
Because he had some opportunities, and what he was able to do at least then is they kind of flipped his service where they made him reservist first to try to make the Ravens and any other subsequent team. But right now it is 6 to 8 years of active duty, and then 3 years in the reserves.
The cadet may not obtain employment, including as professional athlete, until after completing the cadet's commissioned service obligation, according to the Army, 5 years of active duty and 3 years in the individual ready reserve.
Yeah. So I get it. I get their point. And look, the guys that you maybe want to be sure in there are Andre Carter. I mean, probably one of the best athletes coming out. But, I just think that it's one of those things that probably seems like how it should be on the surface when you pass that bill, but doesn't take into account the reality of college athletics in 2022.
Yeah, and I don't know, once you sign that deal to be at Army, how you transfer out, I don't know what your obligations still are. So I say that the way I say that, and for all I know, you might not have the opportunity to even do that, right? Because you signed your contract with the Army. So I'm not going to pretend to know how all of that works, but if there was the opportunity for him last year to transfer, in hindsight, any guy who's like that is going to have that in mind, I would imagine. Mm-hmm. Because if he could have done that, he could have gone anywhere and played for a year and gone to the NFL draft. And now he's going to be, I don't want to say stuck, but he's going to be signed and locked down for 5 years. Mm-hmm. And then was he going to 28 try to be in the NFL? That's just, you would think that they could make an exception, but I don't know what kind of can of worms that opens up, but that's just an unfortunate situation. Yeah.
All right, so that's that, and that's been back and forth, and it was. You had to serve your duty, and with Staubach and others. I don't know what it was like back in the days of when Army and Navy were competing for national titles. Chad Hennings is another one. All right, when we come back to wrap up the week. By the way, China Spring and Bernie, 3 minutes to go. Bernie's about to punt from around midfield. That game could be either headed to a last-second field goal or possibly overtime. This is 365 Sports.
In our logo and advertising, we say we are people that you can count on. What does that mean? It starts with providing a quality vehicle and quality service at a fair price. But it also means we do what we say we will do, and we treat people fairly with respect. It starts by hiring great people, good local folks who work hard with a caring attitude. Our employees are the real reason we are people that you can count on. Put us to the test and see for yourself that at Richard Carr Motors, we are people you can count on.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like instant issue debit cards free at all of our banking centers, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Hi, this is Paul Catalina. I recently got engaged to the love of my life, but the most important thing that I had to do before I popped the question was get that perfect ring. And I know nothing about rings. So I went to the wedding ring store, Boozer's Jewelers on Valley Mills Drive. I knew I needed a custom design, and that's exactly what they do. 9 out of 10 of their engagement rings are designed in-house. The entire process took less than a month, and they were great every step of the way. Great options on financing, excellent selection, and talented designers. My fiance fiance and I get nonstop compliments on the ring. I only deserve credit for doing the smartest thing I could, walking into Boozers and letting them work their magic. Your one-of-a-kind fiance deserves a one-of-a-kind ring, and that's what you get at Boozers. Boozers Jewelers, the wedding ring store on Valley Mills Drive.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
Howdy, Chet Garner here, professional guide, searching for bears in the wild. But not just any bears, oh no, a particular kind. With hundreds of thousands roaming freely in the wild, yet still hard to spot unless you know the signs. There they are, Baylor bears. If you're a bear enthusiast or even a bear yourself, join me and let's find some bears in the wild.
Join the expedition at baylor.edu/alumni.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive, North 19th Street, right behind the bank, is a hidden gem in Waco. If you're a fan of bourbon, especially local Texas bourbons, that's where you gotta go. Balcones, TX, Devil's River, whatever it is, they've got it. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, plus the best selection of craft beers in Waco, seasonally churned out throughout the year, whether it's spring, summer, fall, or winter. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, best selection of craft beers, a speedy drive-through window, and excellent customer service. Find out more on Instagram or just go by and see them. Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street behind the bank.
This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55.
Okay, a couple disclaimers. Top 5 teams with returning QBs. The first one is, I don't know what Max Duggan's going to do. I think he can return. We think he can return, but I didn't leave him on this list because I'm just saying for the part of this exercise, he's not coming back. The other thing is I put a lot into this, and I got to a point where I was stuck and there were 6 guys, and I could not split hairs between numbers 2 to 5 or 6. So there is a tie for 5th.
No, we don't do that.
It's a tie for 5th. It's a tie for 5th.
It's your deal.
It's a tie for 5th. I'm the sole member of this committee, so I decided there's a tie for 5th. And that tie at 5th is Jordan Travis at FSU and Michael Penix Jr. at Washington. 10-2, Washington, 9-3, Florida State. Both these guys coming back. And if you look at the transfer recruits that are pouring into these two schools right now, it is very telling that there are guys that want to come there and play with these two quarterbacks because it's established, especially the skill positions. Florida State's got 3 guys in already. They're having a big week this week. Washington has got visit after visit after visit, and it's mostly on the opposite side of the ball, and it's because of the quarterbacks right there. And the way both these guys finished out the season too, Jordan Travis on national television the day after on Black Friday, Michael Penix also really, I think, kind of helps that in regard because they were kind of alone in their games by themselves in the Apple Cup and the Sunshine Showdown or whatever we call it now. So
both are damn good quarterbacks.
Yeah, really fun, really kind of similar skill sets as well. Number 4, Will Howard at Kansas State. Why put Will Howard over those other guys?
I was going to ask that very question.
I'll tell you why. Only because Will Howard is the reason, and I believe his team was in the conference championship game, and those other 2 guys didn't get their teams there. So Will Howard, if Adrian Martinez, who was having a good year, if he gets hurt, I kind of think that maybe Kansas State would have been 1 game out of it and not into it because Will Howard completely changed how their offense was.
Well, he was sacked, Martinez, early on against Baylor, and he kind of froze up on a 4th down. He got sacked and never played again.
Yeah.
And Howard then helps them go on and destroy Baylor defense as well, and that was when they they gave him the keys to the car.
Now, if you're asking me which guys I'd rather have, I would put Will Howard below it. But the dude won a conference title, and the other ones didn't. So he gets conference title bump here.
Yeah, I mean, by the time next year's done, he may not be behind those guys in regards to certain things either. I mean, we have yet to see him play a full season and be the starter for a full season. But, yeah, when he has played, he's been impressive, and he's been a difference maker for them. And I don't think, to your point, I don't think they win the Big 12 with Adrian Martinez as quarterback. I don't. I think that they get beat by TCU if they even get to that game, which I'm not sure that they do. So, I mean, I definitely think he deserves a spot on the list. You know, like any other list, people can debate who's 5 or who's 4 or whatever. But, yeah, he's definitely deserving. He's Deuce Vaughn should be back next year. I mean, you would think. People say, no, he's going to go to the NFL. I mean, I guess if, it's now or never, but I don't see him being a super high draft pick, but it's also a running back. So, I mean, maybe he goes just because, you're not going to gain any ground. Deuce Vaughn's not going to grow 3 inches and be a first-round pick or something. And even if he grew 3 inches, he might still not be a first-round pick.
Only going to be one, I think.
Bijan's like a borderline top 10 guy, just depending on how the order goes. He could go top 5, he could go top 10, but he's not a lock in the first round by any means. So, Deuce Vaughn, that'll be a key one to watch, but Will Howard's a good player.
Yeah, and he's the one who messed up the list. I had the list done, and before I hit send, I said, let me look back real quick because I feel like I'm leaving somebody out. And I knew if I left Will Howard out, people would question the credibility of this list because he's coming back and they won the conference title. Number 3, Cam Rising. He beat another guy on this list twice.
Oh, yeah.
So, and look, he's tough as nails. I really love watching Cam Rising play. I wonder if at any point Texas is like, man, we really ran that guy off because he's really fun to watch. Tough, really embodies Kyle Whittingham, which is probably better that he did because Kyle Whittingham and Cam Rising seem to work well together. And it took Kyle Whittingham a long time to come around on Cam Rising and only really had to do it because Charlie Brewer got hurt. So,
kind of weird that Charlie Brewer was starting to begin with there when you really look back on that. But, Cam Rising's a good player. I mean, there were times this year where he was definitely dinged up and, not being able to play at as high a level as you would like. But he finished with a very nice, stat line. Definitely was a leader for them and definitely – totally changed the feel on them last year when he took the reins. So I mean, he could in theory go to the draft, but he's not going to be a super high pick based on what we know right now. Probably a day 2, 3-ish type of guy. Yeah. So like a late day 2 and then into the day 3 probably. So I would expect he probably comes back because I think they're going to be hyped up for next year. I know they've already lost a couple guys, like Thomas, I think already declared. He
Phillips.
did. Phillips. But he's a good player, and Utah's a super tough team, man. So they're going to be, I think, itching to get back, and with him back, that'll be big.
Yeah. Number 2, another conference champion here, J.J. McCarthy from Michigan. This is the guy Jim Harbaugh's been waiting on. I mean, Cade McNamara helped to win last year, but J.J. McCarthy's just a more talented player. And you can do more with J.J. McCarthy than you can with Cade McNamara. Cade McNamara is an upgrade at Iowa at quarterback, but J.J. McCarthy won this job and won it for a reason because he's a really good player. And he has the kind of swagger that you need to be the quarterback for multiple years at Michigan. I really think he's something special that they have there and that they have not had in a very, very long time. Like since Denard Robinson, and he was a different kind of player, but they haven't had a guy with that kind of, captivating leadership like J.J. McCarthy has.
By the way, going back to Cam Rising, that Utah-Penn State bowl game, if things stay as is, that should be a pretty fun game. Well, Utah will be going for their 3rd straight Pac-12 title.
Yep.
That's all since the Charlie Brewer, Cam Rising move. That's pretty crazy.
Early last year,
Yeah, McCarthy, I mean, he proved himself to be the guy. That's why he's going to be – does Iowa play Michigan next year?
I don't know.
I mean, he won the job, and he proved why he won the job, and here they are in the playoff. Them and TCU is going to be super fascinating game to see, and I mean, he's a stud. So Harbaugh's got, I mean, compared to where we were like a couple years ago, to where the thoughts about, is he going to the NFL again? Is flirting with pro teams, or, they can't beat Ohio State, to where they are now. I mean, now you're beating Ohio State. You're in the playoff. You're favored to probably go play for a national title. You've got your quarterback. They've got it set up really well in Ann Arbor right now. I mean, the Wolverines are definitely back.
Yeah. By the way, I actually would compare Blake Shapen's skill set very similarly to J.J. McCarthy and what they athletically can do.
Right.
But J.J. McCarthy right now has this little bit of a bump there. And I think Blake Shapen would be wise to maybe watch him a little bit and see because they're very similar, very, very similar in what they can do athletically.
Yeah, Michigan does play Iowa next year, by the way.
Okay,
yeah,
that should be a fun one. Number one, no brainer, the Heisman Trophy winner, Caleb Williams. Even though he's one of 3 non-conference champions on this list, he still is the Heisman Trophy winner, and he's still coming back, and he will, based on what we've seen, inspire tanking in the NFL like no one in decades has. There will be teams that shut guys down for ankle sprains in September because they're like, no, we got to get rid of this quarterback and get Caleb Williams.
I got to correct myself. I lied. Michigan does not play Iowa next year, unless I guess it would be in the conference championship game. I saw the basketball schedule, so my fault on that one. But, yeah, I was thinking we were going to get a battle of Michigan QBs there. So, nope, that would have to be somewhere else. But, yeah, Caleb Williams, I mean, there's no doubt about it. The dude's an absolute stud and number 1 overall type pick in the making, and I would be curious to know if he could go right now, where he would be viewed in the draft.
He would be the first pick.
I mean, if you need a quarterback, yeah. But, yeah, the number 1 quarterback, you would think so. But, yeah, I mean, the dude is a star. I mean, you saw once he got hurt in that championship game, how Utah came rallying back. And he's a good one, man. I mean, kind of goes without saying. But, yeah, he's a star, and you're reigning Heisman Trophy winner trying to be Archie Griffin next season and be the first to win back-to-back, which would be pretty incredible because that's not something I thought I would ever see. As much as there's things out there in sports like I've never seen a Triple Crown winner and horse racing. I've seen some of those things now. Never thought I'd see a back-to-back Heisman winner because it's just hard to make that happen, but he's having a damn good chance to do so.
We've had some pretty good people have that opportunity, too. Yeah. It's just it just haven't happened.
Yeah, but by the way, no, I did not put Quinn Ewers on this list because
I was going to ask.
I mean, look, he's a good player, but he was not near as accomplished as anybody else on the list.
No, not even close.
He wasn't. I also, Spencer Rattler is coming back to South Carolina, so that's one that would be further down the list. Don't know about Tulane. Don't know about Wake Forest. Like Sam Hartman might be on my list just because I like him so much, but I don't know if he's returning to that team. There's too much scuttlebutt. These guys are, if they're coming back, and if Cam Rising is the only one in this group that could potentially change his mind at this point,
They also played huge roles in their teams being wildly successful. I'd say Texas leaned more on Bijan and defense than they did Quinn Ewers in any way, shape, or form. I understand the draft talk with that guy because it's been happening since he was at South Lake Carroll, but he doesn't deserve to be on every NFL. He needs to actually prove some stuff first, and these guys have proven far more at this point.
All right, final score from AT&T Stadium in Arlington. China Spring kicks a field goal with no time left. Thomas Barr, who beat Stephenville earlier this year with like a 50-yarder or 40-yarder, has beaten Bernie 24-21. China Spring wins back-to-back state titles and the first for at least Central Texas, with College Station playing tomorrow in Class 5A. Garrett, great job today. Appreciate everybody in the chat room, the text line. Paul Catalina, Jacob Wilson was here, Jack McKenzie was here, Emery and Levi helping with the picks and all that. Craig, thank you very much. I'm David Smoak. Thanks to our incredible sponsors. This is 365 Sports, and have a great weekend.